There we are. All right. I'd like to call to order Littleton Board of Health meeting on July 18th. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a flipped agenda. First thing we're going to jump into is a discussion on 32 Gray Farm Road. This is a discussion, not a hearing. Just a quick discussion about deed restriction around individual or additional rooms. And if I remember right, so Jim, you had some feedback, is that right?
They may be,
Or,
I may have messed up a little bit on the time on this, John, and backed them up to 7 o'clock. You're not the owners of Gray Farm Road, are you? Okay. They may be coming more at like 7:15.
all right, we can take
So if you wanted to go to Cottage Way, the applicants for that 32 Gray Farm may be coming a little bit later, and we'll squeeze them in.
Okay, so why don't we table that for them to show up then? That's fine. All right, 6 Cottage Way, request for extension. That is you. Yeah, come on up.
Hi, thanks for seeing me tonight.
Sure.
This is my permit that you guys had issued for my septic system and the septic plan. Right now, I've gone to conservation with my notice of intent for putting in the septic system because I need to cut down trees in order to install the system. And there's been a delay. I saw them on the the 10th, and so I have to have an engineered plan. My neighbors are a bit upset about cutting down the trees, so they're creating a delay. They said that they will actually do an appeal regardless if the conservation actually approves my plan. So I'm coming to you guys because my permit expires in September, and I wanted to make sure that I was going to be able to do my job properly, and with that extra year, it'd allow whatever delays are going to be happening with conservation, and for me to be able to get my septic system in.
And this was approved in 2014?
Yep.
So these are good for 3 years?
Permits are good for 3 years.
Okay.
And the code says that the board can grant a 1-year extension if there's extenuating circumstances.
Such as this, and this certainly would fall under that.
Thank you.
What happens when permit expires? Does that mean retesting has to occur?
Not necessarily, but
But certainly new.
if the code is changed,
Changed in
you'd
the
have
new
to,
permit.
so you'd have to reapply, get a new permit, then it would be good again for 3 years.
Okay, all right. Is there indefinite number of extensions that can be granted?
So you can grant the 1-year extension, and after that, if she doesn't put it in, then it goes back to re-permitting. So
Just
you review,
re-permit.
what that does is allows you to go back to the code, see if it's changed, make
Yep.
any changes. So it's not like it used to be where they almost were indefinite extensions. It's now, every 3 years, you can check and see if the code's changed.
Okay. And what is, when's the Conservation Committee meeting next and gonna give
It's
their
on the
input?
24th. My my engineers got the plan, so I'm hoping that they'll be able to get everything drawn up for the 24th. The fire chief is all set to be able to meet to make sure that everything's good. So
Okay, and what's the appeals process like then? If they're gonna appeal, if the abutters are gonna appeal?
So with conservation, if they deny it, she has the right to go to DEP to appeal it. If they approve it, there, I believe, is an appeal process which the abutters could then appeal, and then it goes to DEP. So then DEP reviews it all, and I'm not sure of the timelines. I would guess it was about a 60-day timeline that they would have to hear or review it within, but I think even if it went to an appeal a year, everything should be resolved within the year timeline. She just doesn't want her septic permit to expire in the process of all
Yeah.
this, so you have to determine.
No, I don't blame
yeah.
you. And the permits, the work has to be done before the permit expires or initiated?
So it has to be actually connected into a foundation so they can actually get the
It's
final
back there,
sign off on
yeah.
the system. Yep, so you need
Okay.
a certificate of compliance by the end of that.
By the end of
period
that,
time.
okay. All right,
Can I have,
absolutely, I'm gonna open it up.
you mentioned about the trees. Now, the tree are in your land or in conservation land?
On my land.
Okay, so you have no problem, okay? Your tree is your tree, you can cut them off. Okay? Okay, and I think, Mr. Chairman, I think a 1-year extension would be fine, because you don't have to go to the conservation meeting at all.
Well, yeah,
No.
she does.
Well,
she does.
She's in the buffer zone,
Yeah.
and she has some
Yeah.
conservation
But
issues.
I'm saying you can fight it because those are in your property,
Okay.
Yeah,
all right?
well,
Right.
that's
But that's not our
outside the
purview.
scope of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
But
I'd
I
like to not
guarantee
be
you they
part of
will
that
not
argument.
object.
I appreciate hearing that,
Yeah,
thank you.
support you 100%. I went through the process myself, not for a septic system, but having to take down trees and go through conservation, so I get it.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, so this is, this is,
You should probably, you make a motion, to approve that you,
I make a motion to approve the extension for 1 year.
Second.
any further discussions?
I missed the first part of the conversation, so, let you
yeah,
guys
just
vote.
abstain from this one. yeah.
All right, all in favor of granting the extension to 6 Cottage Way, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed?
You feel better, young lady?
one abstention.
Go out,
All right.
smile.
Thank you.
Yep.
I appreciate
luck.
that very much.
A lot of work ahead, though.
Yeah. Where's Cottage Way?
I'm not sure, I have to Google it.
Where's Cottage Way?
6 Cottage Way?
Where is it? It's it's off of Fort Pond Road in Acton. There's a private drive entrance, and then it's off of Shagbark. So it's on Fort Pond. So my property has frontage on Fort Pond and then Fort Pond Road in
I
Littleton.
know where it is, yeah.
Yeah. So
Nice.
yeah, it's been in the family for a very long time. So very happy.
Good night.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. So
Just drop that off to me, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
So, 9 Hillside, there's no abutter notification required, so you can open that now, and then if the 32 Gray Farm come in, we can probably squeeze them
okay,
between, because Kirk's here for the next 3, so.
okay, all right, come on, 9 Hillside Road then.
I'm Kirk Fitzpatrick with Civil Solutions, and I'm here on behalf of Jacqueline Kish for her property at 9 Hillside Road. Basically, before you is a proposed upgrade for the existing 3-bedroom dwelling. It failed a Title V inspection. Right now, it's got a small round tank here in the front yard, and then a leaching area over to this side of the yard. Actually, looks like, based on the record information, they crossed the water line, and then in 1981, they actually added an additional pit off the end of it here. So what we're proposing to do is to come over in the side yard, where it's all original material. The plumbing right now, the house is, it's kind of set up a little differently. It's got a kind of a split entrance, but then it's got a basement, it's got a bathroom on a half level, and there's more plumbing that proceeds down to the basement. But the plumbing comes out underneath that kind of half floor and then feeds the system out the front. So the system's actually like 4.5 feet in the ground at the top of it. I was talking with Mark Kish, her son. So we went over in the side yard here, did 2 deep observation holes and a perk test. It's a coarse bony sand and gravel. We did have a estimated water table at 102 inches in test hole 2, which is the one closer to the street. And we ran a perk test, which ran at 2 minutes an inch. So we're proposing to change the plumbing in the house and come out the back to a new 1,500-gallon 2-compartment tank, and then that's going to feed a 30 by 15-foot leaching field here in the side yard. But because of the elevation of that bathroom, that's kind of on the half level, halfway to the basement, we're proposing to add set the system so it has more than 3 feet of cover material, which is allowable under the code under local upgrade approval. We provided H20 loading septic tank, H20 loading D-box, and the system has piping to Schedule 40, so it's all H20 loading. In addition, it's going to be vented, so that
I don't think there's any problem, there's enough room for everything.
Okay, any Any questions?
I have a question for Jim.
Yep.
So there's a request for, to reduce the requisite groundwater offset from 5 to 4 feet. And we see this a lot with the Presby systems, but what are your thoughts on doing it with a non-Presby system?
I'm not sure how much treatment Presby gives. The good thing,
Who knows?
that's right, so the good thing about this section of town is that it's all town water,
Ah, okay.
so less concern in that.
It sounds coarse.
It is, it's
So
very
we're just
coarse, but
drain it down.
well, but it's pretty deep coarse sand and gravel there, so.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. So,
From 4 feet.
So I don't really have an issue with the 1 foot reduction.
Only a foot
I
away.
mean, the problem is if you're trying to get it,
Yeah, that's
you
it.
start to create
So it's no
grading
problem.
issues. And as you know, down around the lake, that really can be
Minimum.
problematic.
Yeah.
I mean, this lot's small, but I don't think the grading issues are.
Okay, because we've kind of established a precedent with the Presby systems to grant the reduction in the offset, but we haven't done so much with the non-Presbys.
Sure.
So it sounds like, would you agree that we would do that on a case-by-case
Oh, I would,
basis?
any one of them I would recommend doing it on a case by
Yeah.
case, yeah. I wouldn't,
Okay.
I wouldn't look at it wholesale, but.
10 feet
Okay.
away
Yeah.
from the property.
That's all I have.
10, that's what I was.
Yeah, but that's
Other,
it.
other questions?
No.
Sorry, I forgot to mention that variance.
Sorry?
I forgot to mention the variance for the groundwater offset.
Oh, that's okay.
So it's actually from 5 feet to 4 feet.
And
because
David,
it
you
is a-
understand how that works?
I just
And you-
explained to him.
Okay, the offset between the bottom of the septic, okay.
So Kirk, this is David as a new member, so,
Day one, sorry. Playing the game today. so, I understand.
So I make a motion that you need a motion, am I correct?
Yeah, if there are
Yeah,
no,
to give- yeah, to,
you guys aren't here for,
Required ground, what?
just making sure no one else was
Yeah,
here
yeah.
for.
So you want to actually eliminate from 5 feet to 4 feet, right? That's your only request you're asking for?
We're asking for reduction in the groundwater offset from 5 feet to 4 feet under 310 CMR 154051H, and approval from 310 CMR 15405-1B to allow more than 36 inches of cover material.
Okay. You just said it for me, thank you.
You're welcome.
You got it.
what's the date on that plan, Kirk?
This is July 6th.
Second.
Second, any questions? Further questions or discussions? All right, well, we jumped in, and before we vote, so I just want to understand, the reduction allows for eliminating the need to put in a pump
That's correct.
system, right?
Correct.
And that's sort of is allowable, and we can, okay.
And that's because of where the bathroom is on that half.
That's a portion of the house.
Yeah, and that's kind of the split level.
Okay, this
As it's on a slab.
Okay, we have a motion to approve these variances in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay,
Have a good day.
No, he's got two
Not
more to
ready
go.
yet.
7:15, we'll open the hearing for 6 Long Lake Road.
All right. Which one is it?
Hey, you guys yet? All right, you can come up, too. Feel free.
It's my mother's house.
Oh, okay.
There's more than one, right? There we go.
This end. Sorry, Jim.
Again, I'm Kirk Fitzpatrick with Civil Solutions. I'm here on behalf of Elizabeth McCarthy for property at 6 Long Lake Road. This is also a proposed upgrade for the existing 3-bedroom dwelling at this property. Went past the Title V inspection. Right now, it's got a small round tank in the backyard, and that feeds a leaching pit over in this area of the backyard. So we did 2 deep observation holes and a perk test. The material here is a sandy loam, so it's a tighter material, which is pretty typical around Long Lake. And we had an estimated seasonal high water table at 36 inches, and observed water at 78 inches and 84 inches respectively. We were able to run the perk because the water table was down, and we got a rate of 10 minutes an inch. So with the groundwater at 3 feet, if we went with the conventional system, it'd be raised out of the ground. I did initially started to look at that. The system be raised, it would require a U-shaped retaining wall all the way around the system. So we took a look at designing with the Presby EnviroSeptic, and we're asking for a reduction of the groundwater offset from 4 feet to 2 feet. the system will still be raised, but because the house is set fairly high, we can make it by gravity with the Presby, and it does not require these retaining walls along the lot lines. It will have a poly liner across the back to maintain the fill on the property.
What's the current permit, number of bedrooms?
3 bedrooms, I believe.
Okay.
I don't know if it was a permit, but I could,
Are you asking for an increase?
no,
No.
it's maintaining 3. There's no increase in flow.
And then breakout gradient within 10 feet of the property line. And because of the slope or the grade of the, there's no need for a retaining wall in the back, and it just sort of swales away? There's a,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just a poly liner to
Okay.
pull the fill in
Yeah.
across the back lot line.
okay.
So basically, we're asking for approval from the Littleton Board of Health for the use of the 2-foot groundwater offset with their use of the Presby. And a variance is requested from Board of Health Regulation 27 to allow fill required to meet minimum breakout grading requirements within 10 feet of the property line.
Jim, your input?
Again, these are one of these things where you're kind of balancing what will fit on the lot with
Right.
what the lot will look like. Again, the area is served by town water.
Yeah.
The system will be out of the water table, so it's a far better situation than what exists there now.
Right.
The state does think Presby has some treatment, so they allow that. Instead of just a 1-foot reduction, they allow that 2-foot reduction. By going with the 2-foot reduction, it allows you to do a little better job with the grading, which really becomes important in that neighborhood.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that was the thing that jumped out at me, was the 2-foot offset. Okay. Any questions or any other comments by the board?
It seemed like
Do we have a budget?
clean slate.
Are there
Yeah,
butters
that's
here?
what I was gonna ask
Oh,
about a
there are
butter.
butters. Okay, any questions? You guys, we're just talking about the 6 Long Lake
Yeah.
system. Questions, or
Well,
just, could you state your name? Just
my name is Helen Bailey. I live on 9 Roxbury. I live right behind.
You live behind, okay?
Yeah, and, the poly liner, I don't know, is it standard for it to only come within 4 inches of the surface? It seems kind of low. I mean, we're really down grade, so.
I can try and address that.
Yeah.
So basically, the poly liner allows us to pull the fill in. Basically, typically with a system, you want to be able to go up 15 feet for breakout grading requirements. That allows us to only go out to 10 feet. The poly liner will extend into the ground to catch any effluent moving sideways. Typically, it doesn't move sideways, but it's a precaution.
Yeah.
And then the top of the poly liner gets set at what they call the breakout elevation associated with the system.
Yeah.
So typically, it's almost, the top of the poly liner is typically brought almost to finished grade.
Okay, so 4 inches. And also, I noticed that you had, on this plan, you have 5 lines on one piece of the plan, and the other one you have 4. Is that just a standard detail you have?
You want to come up here and point out, or do you get it?
Yeah, it's the layout details
Yeah, the
Oh,
layout
I
detail.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a standard
No, I
detail.
get it.
It's
Is
got-
that just a standard detail?
Yeah, it's got the split through it. I mean, we
Okay.
use that from anywhere from 4 to 8 usually, so.
okay, I see what you're saying.
I've drawn hundreds of these, that's why I'm, yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm curious about it. I think it's going to be, I'm more concerned with the grade than anything else, because we have had neighbors who have had new septic system put in, and then they have a lot of problems with the water undermining their houses. That's why I'm kind of concerned about the poly liner being there.
The grading in those systems, is there a lot of fill with a retaining wall or
No,
not?
there's no retaining wall.
They had no swell at all, nothing?
No, it's just huge mounds
Oh,
next
Yeah.
to the next to
So
the
what we're
house.
trying to do with the Presbys is reduce the elevation of those mounds.
Okay,
So that's why we give the variances, so that
Right.
they, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, so we're trying to get away from those big mounds
Yeah.
and even out the grading with this treatment system that allows you to not go up so high.
put a swell.
okay, so anything would go way under, not under our house, which is a problem with some of the other people in the neighborhood.
What's the permeability of the
It
soils?
was 10 minutes an inch.
So it's tight.
It's actually a pretty decent rate for that area.
10 minutes an inch, really?
Yes.
Wha- I'm not an
I-
engineer.
I don't think the system's going to impact your property.
Okay.
I mean, the natural flow of the runoff right now is to the rear of the property.
What's that, a loamy sand or something?
It's a sandy loam.
Sandy
I mean,
loam.
it's pretty typical for what we see around Long Lake, and it's a,
Yeah, so it's a little tight.
it is, it's
It's a little tight.
silty sand.
So
Yeah.
I think if you got the surface grading the way they're doing it, a little lower, you tend not to have that accumulation of water in one area, so it evens out from the surface infiltration.
Okay.
Would you agree with that?
I don't think there's not going to be any increase in runoff towards their property.
That's my point.
Okay, yeah, that's a big.
Because if you
concern.
have a mound, then it kind of directs it, it's all flowing down.
Yeah.
And if you even it out, you don't have as much grade.
Yeah,
It's,
okay, that's the main concern. because-
Hopefully.
So basically, we've designed to try to keep the height of the system as low as possible.
Where's the
Right.
nearest surface water over there?
Uh,
I tried to look at it on a map, and I,
surface water.
Probably
you know
800,
that drainage?
1,000 feet.
1,000 feet, okay, so
I would say, yeah.
Yeah,
So hopefully you'll be
It's
good.
probably the drainage pond.
hopefully it'll just go straight, vertical, and then,
okay. Okay, well, that was our main concern, was the experience with other people in the neighborhood with, undermining their
Sure.
foundations, which could, we don't have a basement, so that would be an issue, but other people with that basement have had their foundations really deteriorated by water.
Could you explain, I'm sorry, the polyliner a little bit?
Sure.
How does that work? Could you draw it?
It's actually on here.
Okay.
So basically, if you look at a cross-section of the system, this would be the leaching area, and this is to be the fill associated with the leaching area. And then the polyliner gets set down. Breakout grading for a Presby system is actually at the bottom of the sand. So the top of the polyliner gets set either equal with the bottom of the Presby sand or just above it, and then it's required to extend a minimum of 12 inches into the existing material.
Okay. And that's,
And that'll be set 10 feet off the edge of the system. If we didn't have the polyliner, the requirement of the code is we have to go out 15 feet, which would push the fill off the property. Obviously, we can't do that.
Okay, good. Well, it's a very nice plan, and I went to
Thank you.
the Board of Health meeting for the house next door to this property, and it was a cocktail napkin sketch. It was horrible, and you guys accepted it. I was very shocked. But,
Those were the Wild West days.
yeah.
Okay,
But anyway, so.
All right, great.
That
Anything
satisfies,
else? That's it?
that satisfies my question.
fantastic. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, we have a couple of requests for variances. Someone want to make a motion?
make a motion to approve, to grant a variance for reduction in the groundwater offset from 4 feet to 2 feet using a Presby Enviroseptic wastewater treatment system. And second variance, allow fill required to meet minimum breakout grading requirements within 10 feet of a property line with, as shown on plan dated
12th of June 12th.
Okay, I second it.
Okay, any further discussions? All right, all in favor of approving these variances as read, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, there we go.
Thank you.
You got another one?
One more, unless you want to do Great Farm. I'm gonna take-
Why don't we take care of this one first?
Okay.
And,
Oh, are you doing Gray Farm, Kirk?
No,
Oh, okay.
Well,
I
that
thought
would
they
be-
said they were coming, but
okay.
I was trying to squish everything in the beginning of the meeting.
I don't remember which one was 32 Great.
So it's a house that has 8 rooms in it now, and then they finished 2 in the basement, which would have kicked it into 5 bedrooms. It's only a 4-bedroom system.
Yeah.
So you're welcome to come talk to the board about it. This is,
Just trying to remember, I live on Great Farm, so it's-
oh, okay, I don't know which house it is.
Yeah, I meant to drive by it, just so I knew which one it was. Okay, so opening up the hearing for 5 Dogwood Road, septic system variances. And you are in the butter, or you would be in the butter? Okay. You're downhill, okay. All right,
Again, I'm Kirk Fitzpatrick with Civil Solutions, and I'm here on behalf of Bonnie Winnigan for a property at 5 Dogwood Road. And this is a proposed upgrade for the existing 2-bedroom dwelling. Right now, it's got a 1,000-gallon tank located off the front corner of the house here, and a leaching pit in the middle of the front yard. The topography of the land, it's actually fairly flat in this area. It's almost a plateau. And then there's a retaining wall, stone retaining wall along the edge of a paved driveway. And then that's also fairly flat and stepped down about 2.5, 3 feet below the wall. And then it slopes off more steeply on the other side of the driveway. So we did a couple test holes up in the flat area. We had test holes 1 and 2. And they actually put quite a bit of fill in place. Must have been when they built the house or when they did the last system. There was 6 feet of fill. And then there was the old subsoil and then this loamy sand below that. We dug to a depth of 9 feet and we had an estimated water table at 72 inches, basically at the bottom of the fill. The second test hole, which was closer to the street, didn't have as much fill. It had about 4 feet of fill than the old subsoil. And then the loamy sand and the water table was also at 6 feet, or 72 inches. So basically, when I run a perk test, it's got to be done in the parent material, down in the C layer. So because there was so much fill in place and the water table's pretty much right where it starts to get saturated when you get to that C layer, we weren't able to run the perk test. So alternative to running a perk test is take a soil sample and you have a lab analyze it and tell you what type of soil it is. When you do that, we ask for local grade approval for the use of the sieve test, and then the system gets designed on the worst percolation rate in the class soil that they dictate. So basically, this came back as a loamy sand. So the worst perk rate for a loamy sand is 8 minutes an inch. If it had come back as a class 2 soil or a sandy loam, it actually jumps to 30 minutes an inch. So there's a big difference in the types of soils. But it's fairly conservative as far as what's required for the sizing of the system. So on this one, we're proposing to reuse the existing 1,000-gallon tank where it's only a 2-bedroom house. The tank's been deemed to be in good condition, and we're going to feed a Presby system. It's going to be 32 feet long by 12.75 feet wide, and we're asking for a reduction in the groundwater offset in this one to go from 4 feet to 3 feet. By going to 3 feet, we're able to make it by gravity.
Excuse me, I'm number 3 Dogwood, so am I here?
Yeah.
I'm here. Diane Walsh. Okay, so I'm here, so all of this is going to be abutting the stone wall that is basically my property here.
Yeah, so basically the property line, it's about, it varies. It's only a couple feet past the wall here and probably about 5 feet past the wall in the front. We had a registered land surveyor do the property lines for us in this one just because it's an area where everything's pretty tight.
Oh, terribly, yes.
And he stamped this plan. So basically, we've tried to keep the system as compact as possible, make it work with the existing property. This one also has a poly liner. This poly liner is going to be 10 feet off the system, so it allows us to pull that fill in to 5 feet. And just because this is fairly steep through here, that grade is just getting pushed out of, it looks like a lot of grading, but it's actually not. That it's basically pushing the slope out about 2 feet.
It looks like a lot of grading.
It
It's
does.
6 feet.
Well, no, it is coming up quite a bit in this area, but because there's a big jump where the wall is.
Is that wall like a retaining wall that you make for a septic system, or is that just a
No, it's just
homeowner built a stone, built a
stone
retaining
wall.
wall?
It's a homeowner built, well, I don't know if the homeowner built it, but it's a stone
Right,
wall
right.
built along the driveway to terrace the property.
Yeah, okay.
So when they do this, this driveway will get eliminated, the asphalt will all be removed, and they'll fill in this area. Basically, it's going to make it level with the above the top part of the wall. So it's going to come up.
So what's the grade difference going to be on the property line between, like within 10 feet of the, within 20 feet of the property line? So the property line is here,
Yes.
and
Yep.
then
And there's a
we've
stone
got-
wall
there's a stone wall here. And what's going to happen to this stone wall?
that'll be removed when the system gets constructed.
So and this is existing grade, so you're putting in 6 feet?
No, we're putting in 2 feet.
2 feet?
So basically, that's going to be elevation 96 here,
Yeah.
and that's elevation 94 below it. It looks like a lot of grading.
Yeah.
And we did this at 10 scale, just because it is a small lot. If I did it 20 scale.
Oh, I see,
it would be
here's the
on top
grade
of
right
each
here.
other.
This is this
That's correct. So
existing?
these are existing grades. So it's 80,
Oh, okay.
90, 91,
Sorry.
92, 93.
Okay, so you already have a lot of grade there.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a fairly steep slope.
Okay.
And it's difficult to catch it. But by using the polyline, we end up catching the slope and not having to build a wall. But it's not coming up a lot, because you can see we catch the
Sorry,
91
okay.
contour over, this is 91 here almost, or 90 and a half, so it's only half a foot of fill here, 3/4 of a foot of fill there. It increases as it goes up.
And you've
It's
got the
not-
polyliner, how far along around does the polyliner go?
So the polyliner starts here at the front,
Yeah.
and then it's going to wrap, follows the contour, new grading contours, 10 feet off the system, and ends back here.
And so getting back to the conversation before, what is the insertion of the polyliner there due to the hydraulics? And like, which way is the water flowing in this area? It's going down?
It's going downhill.
It's going that way?
It's already going
Yes.
towards your house?
Yes.
You mean the surface water, right?
That's surface.
So the groundwater is
Subsurface.
going
Even groundwater, because I have
It's going
sumps in my basement.
towards the lake, right? So it's going
Yes.
that way, right? This way?
Yes.
So it's going this way, the polyliner's this way, so it's lateral, so it shouldn't make any difference in your property, because it's going this way,
Yeah,
right?
but that's dogwood, I'm here.
Right,
And
so,
this is where the slope goes down this way.
because the lake is here.
No, the lake is here.
Oh, it's going this way
The lake is
then?
over
all the way
here.
to the-
So it's going that way,
It's going
okay.
that way.
So the water's gonna
Go
get
that
backed up a
way.
little bit by the polyliner and then maybe go below it.
The polyliner, the bottom of the polyliner should be above the elevation of the seasonal high water table.
Oh, okay.
It's only getting keyed into the existing grade a foot.
Oh, okay.
What's required by the code, so it shouldn't be catching groundwater, it should be
Okay.
catching any lateral movement of any effluent. Typically, you don't see effluent, I've never seen effluent move laterally 10 feet.
Okay.
When we can dig a test hole right next to a system that is completely in hydraulic failure. You can be 2 or 3 feet off it, and you don't know it's there until you actually hit it. It's like popping a balloon.
Do you actually hit what?
Hit the edge of the system. Once
system
you hit the
itself.
stone, then you know it's there.
Okay.
Okay, the other thing that concerns me, this wall is, stone wall is not stable at all. It's falling apart in places. So when you start grading along here, it's going to put more pressure on the wall and it's going to come down.
Actually, they won't be grading into the wall. The grading should catch it right before the
The
wall.
grading's going
Actually, I think that this little one spot, there's
right.
maybe 3 or 4 inches of fill against the wall. But otherwise, all the fill is,
Because everything
Is
is already
not
above.
within
the-
2 feet of the wall.
Everything is already above the wall. It kind of comes down and then there's the wall. The wall doesn't meet the top of the dirt at this point. So.
What do you have on your side of the wall?
My
To prevent it from
backyard.
falling in? There's nothing there, it's just open space to your backyard?
Yes, yeah, there's nothing there.
How tall is the wall?
3 feet maybe?
3 feet?
and, yeah,
Yeah.
I guess, because it does step down onto your
Yeah,
side, I know what you're
it's-
saying.
Yeah, it kind
A
of.
little bit taller on your side,
He's gonna-
Right.
Yeah, oh, yes.
from your grade versus.
From my
your-
grade, yes. It's-
But they
yeah.
really shouldn't be building up against the wall.
No.
The
So
grading doesn't meet the
If
wall.
you don't get a variance to not build within 10 feet, not fill within 10 feet of the property line, what's the alternative?
A retaining wall.
Yeah.
Another retaining wall.
So that,
Where would the retaining wall go?
On their side of the property.
Correct.
Right, I guess.
Prevent any
Yeah.
push against your retaining wall.
So it would be somewhere up here then?
Well, not that high, but
Maybe near where the stone wall
It would-
is?
I would probably put it 10 feet off the lot line to try to keep it as low as possible. But I'm not sure this board's ever
but I just wanted
considered
to,
that.
I need protection.
I just wanted
yeah.
to tell you what the alternative is.
Right.
So I think, from our perspective, the stability of the existing stone wall doesn't really fall under us. As long
Well-
as what they're doing doesn't impact
If we're
the
giving a
wall.
variance to fill within 10 feet, then I think it does.
because that's gonna create the runoff down to it to
Yeah.
push your pressure.
Jim, what do you
And then the soil's
think?
gonna move towards that wall.
Is that stone wall versus property line? I mean, does
The-
that make a
the pro-
difference?
This is the
Anything
property
that's
line out
happened
here.
said
They
that's
own
the
that
way,
wall.
Unfortunately, whether you put a wall.
Yeah, the wall is
People or-
not
The
mine.
Winnick's
Oh.
Winnick's
I'm
own
sorry,
that
what
wall.
did you say?
Anything that you do there, because, the wall's gonna, the fill's gonna come down to the wall, then whatever grading's gonna go, whatever water's gonna go over the wall. So you may pull the water back from, the retaining wall, but the slope on the system is kind of towing out into that wall. So I don't know if you're having you've got this bit of the property for the water as it's coming down to go back further.
Yeah, I don't see the grading impacting that wall. And it's it's her wall in any case. I mean, if
Whichever.
if something were to happen to the wall and
That's
it
what I'm
started
saying,
to
right,
cause
is
an
it's off.
impact on your property, this homeowner would be responsible for it.
Oh, yes, no, I know that. I'm
But we
just
have to
concerned about
consider
the
what,
water.
granting the variance of filling within 10 feet of the property line, what the impact is.
Well, because just
I
like you
think.
said, that homeowner would be responsible for it, which would kind of prevent any kind of accidents to begin with.
I agree.
Nobody wants to pay for anything. Nobody wants to have to worry about, they want to take care of you too. You know, I would assume your neighbors do, so.
Is there any way you can put a swell? Put a lot of
There's really not
stone,
enough.
put a lot of
Trench?
stone there?
A runoff trench towards the road.
No, because it actually runs uphill to the road.
Oh, it goes uphill. I see.
Well, we're talking about,
Disturbing in the area of the wall is probably the best way to keep it from,
From going down.
yeah, any more impact. I mean, that the fill's not getting built up against the wall. It's not acting as a retaining wall. It's just a stone wall.
No, but it's filled above the stone wall, so the grade of the land comes down, and then the stone wall is here, so the dirt is above the stone wall. The stone wall is not flush with
Right.
it.
Existing, though. It exists in that condition.
Oh, yeah, it's been like that forever, yes.
Right.
Yeah, so that, I guess that's sort of what I was saying, is I don't think that the system changes that.
I agree.
Oh, no, I'm not, yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
concerned that everything is so close that it's going to start coming in my backyard, the water, because everything goes downhill, and I'm definitely
Well, it's
down.
already going,
Yeah, it
Yeah,
already-
all the runoff heads in that direction in any case.
well, is it the runoff or the slope stability?
see, that's what my question was.
Yeah.
Because if you're putting loam on top of it, if you don't grade down into it and let it settle, and we get a good rain 2 days later, she's
Yeah,
gonna
that's
have
what I'm-
mud running down, and then it's gonna start impacting the wall,
Mm.
and the wall could fall
Oh,
from
the
that.
wall's already compromised.
Probably won't
yes.
fall, but.
I mean, you could put the stipulation that they put up siltation fencing until it's stabilized, if you're concerned about the wall at the toe of the slope.
How old is that wall?
Oh,
Very
it's
old?
been
Very
there
old.
since before, my husband and I lived there
I've seen it.
for 30-something years, and it's been
And
there
it's still
before
there.
that, yes.
See if you can do some to sustain that wall so it doesn't, in the bad weather, break the wall down, and then it's gonna have a lot of big mess.
I guess I'd be concerned if I thought we were building up against the wall, but by grading it the way we are and using the polyliner, we're really not grading against that wall at all. It shouldn't have any impact on the wall.
Well, you're not touching it now, but what
Right.
I'm worried about is the runoff from
The weather.
later, whether anything runoff from what you've created on top of it.
Okay.
So that top runoff is
Right,
what
and
could be an issue
in the
later.
area where it gets
I
disturbed
agree
should be stabilized via loam and seeding, and you can require that they put in, or consider requiring, put in siltation fencing until they are stabilized, to protect the wall, if that's something that
Well, I
the
think
board
we'd
wanted
have to do
consider.
that as a minimum.
So what about putting in kind of a surface stone area just below that, so any runoff comes from that, you can swale it into this kind of stone area just below it? They've got that corner
Yeah,
that's,
that'd be good.
you
Yeah.
just so you can pull the water down and have it run.
Right.
See, that's what I was meaning by like a
Have it
trench of
dissipate.
I really don't want to change the drainage patterns in the area. If I start directing all the water towards here, and then this neighbor back here is going to be like, well, you just directed all the
I
runoff
kind
towards
of,
my
yeah.
property. This is already a difficult area with steep slopes. I'd really not, I'd rather be as least impactful in that area as possible. And I think
So the
this
side
provides
slopes, we'll
that.
have them, make sure they stabilize them. They can put jute netting up to kind of hold the dirt in place till they get the
Yeah,
grass to
yeah,
grow.
a tough situation.
So have you considered reducing the, asking for a less of an offset? You asked from 4 to 3 feet, 2 feet? Why did you go to 3 feet rather than 2 feet?
So I went 3 feet, because
I always tell
Jim
them
prefers to
full
see a
compliance.
3-foot offset if possible.
Yeah, that's right.
And it does make it, typically, the board's granted variances for fill within 10 feet of a lot line without too much of an issue. Obviously, we don't want to impact neighbors, but it's,
So in this one, if we went to a 2-foot, you wouldn't have as much grade increase?
We should be able to pull it back 3 feet.
yes.
And it might not be a bad option here. We have granted them before down to 2 feet. Just something to think about.
Yeah, that's right.
Jim, what do you think about that?
Like I say, if they can make the 3 feet, this is a conversation we have all the time. It's-
Yeah,
It is allowed, the 2-foot groundwater
Yeah.
option is allowed. And it is an area of town water. So,
and it is near the lake though, so you don't have as much
So when you're saying 2 feet groundwater, you're above,
So this Presby system is designed so that the bottom of the system is 3 feet above the seasonal high water
got it,
table.
yeah, okay.
The Presby approval through Mass DP allows the board to approve a reduction in the groundwater offset to 2 feet.
So if you have,
2 feet
So it's lower.
minimum, like that's as low as you can.
That's the lowest.
so we're close to the lake, so I think the maximum offset's a good idea, because you get more filtration of the stuff before it's gonna discharge over, but on the other hand, because of the geotech, the stability issues and runoff, you might wanna minimize how much we're raising the grade, although you're not raising the grade that much,
I'm
you're
not.
right.
No, it's
You said
more,
you're removing that
it's
top
more
retaining wall, you're removing that?
That is getting
The top
removed,
one?
yes.
So that, okay, so that's gonna increase
But if it's
from that
not
too
a good
now. So
situation
is
as
that
it
gonna
is,
make any difference
any
on?
kind of raising.
Yeah, actually,
Surface flow?
you should get less runoff because we're taking out all this impervious area that's paved.
Oh, that's true, that's a good
That's
point.
what I was just, yeah, I remember that, because that's a driveway, right?
Correct.
So then it's gonna actually,
That'll all be,
Definitely
that'll be
soak in
lawn,
that.
and you shouldn't get anywhere near as much runoff.
where's the driveway going?
They have two driveways.
Okay.
There's a driveway in front of the house, and then this one's, that doesn't look like it get used currently, so.
So it is gonna have,
That's a good point.
and that's right over the current leach field, right? Is
No,
that what
over
that-
the,
that-
No, right
future-
now.
Oh,
it's
I'm reading
right
it
now.
back.
Right now, they
Okay,
have
sorry,
a
yeah,
tank.
It's right there, tank there.
yeah. Other
I
thoughts?
have an issue with that driveway gone.
Nope.
That's big.
Do we want to stipulate that there's, whether it's a fencing or some sort of covering system or whatever to minimize washout until the grass holds?
Yeah, silt fence.
yeah.
Yep. All right, someone want to
You want to do it?
make motions? It's a lengthy one. Take a deep breath. We'll be here a while.
Number one. Approve.
No, let somebody else do it.
You can do it.
Can I hear what you say again? Just
So just
gonna make a
start with this and
motion,
then we'll
make a
add-
motion for the board, the Littleton Board of Health, to approve the, allowing for the reduction of the groundwater offset from 4 feet to 3 feet for the Presby Enviro Septic wastewater treatment system for 5 Dogwood Road, Littleton.
Approve to show under 310. Second.
Also to reduce the requisite offset from the leaching area to a crawl space from, we didn't even talk about this yet.
I'm happy to address that if you
Yeah.
want.
Do you want me to keep on going, or do you want to address
Well, why don't we
the-
keep on going, and then if there's further questions about the rest of them,
Okay.
we'll take them before. going.
Also to approve,
Under 310.
I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
Approve the use of the particle size analysis determining an application rate instead of the required perk tests for the area. And also to approve the variance requested to allow fill required to meet the minimum breakout grading requirements within 10 feet of the property line, but to add the stipulation of jute netting and siltation along the 10-foot, along the property line.
You want
that a-
jute netting or silt fencing?
Silt fencing.
Or both.
I was pretty, I don't know, what's jute?
Either one of them is
Jute
biodegradable?
is-
No, the silt fence would be temporary.
yeah,
until it's
Yeah,
stable.
It's
back
hay
up.
bales.
Well,
You can put fencing up.
the silt fence is that black
Oh, the black
plastic
stuff
fencing you
with the-
see. It
with the-
actually
yeah,
gets.
with the stakes.
gets
Some
towed
nice
into
hay
the ground.
bales would be nice.
Is it what,
too.
a foot?
That goes about a foot.
Well,
They're just
it's
temporary.
temporary
temporary.
until the grass grows.
So it lays flat?
No,
No,
it's-
it's on stakes with black netting.
So if you've ever driven by construction areas,
Yes, but they never remove it. There's still
Well,
some
that's-
along the edge
Well,
of the lake.
The state doesn't bother anybody.
Once the vegetation's stable,
It won't come in, like-
And the jute netting is on the slope so that maybe sand, seeding and topsoil doesn't run off.
Doesn't erode.
Put
Right.
something flat that will be biodegradable.
You could do can you do hay bales or recommend hay bales or?
Still,
They don't,
I think you
I
go
would
with
do it, I
the
mean,
original.
just
they
that-
let
I
it
shouldn't-
grow the grass. They don't.
well, I mean, I think hay bales take up more space, they don't look, I mean,
There's
I
not
get
a lot
it.
of room
Costly,
between the.
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'll give my opinion, I don't think it matters much. I think silt fencing is fine, it gets removed. I can't speak for contractors that don't remove it, I can't,
This is
I
going to be
can't
installed,
speak for
well,
that.
and seated, and should be stabilized
Yeah.
Yeah,
pretty quickly.
given this time of year
Yeah.
and everything, it should go pretty quick, I would think, so.
Maybe it's between you and your
A
neighbor.
motion was made, right? I second.
Second, we have a second, all right, before we vote, any further questions or discussions?
Do you want me to address the?
Yeah,
Crawl space.
the crawl space.
Sorry about that.
Please.
So basically on the side of the house, this appears like it was originally probably a porch, and they kind of finished it off and took out the interior wall, so it's technically now part of the house. That doesn't have a full foundation under it, so it's technically a crawl space. So we're 20 feet off where it turns into a full foundation, but we're only 10 and a half feet off where that area is considered a crawl space.
But it's basically what
It's basically
used to
a
be
porch. Correct.
and sort of a screened-in porch at this
But
point.
now it is part of the footprint of the
It's
house.
part of, so it's
That's why we're
considered,
asking for-
underneath it's a crawl space.
Correct.
Is it connected to the right, to the, is
This-
there
this is
access to
open to
the
the house.
basement?
Below it? No.
Okay, so it's been like poured separately so that,
I'm not sure it's even poured.
Yeah, it sounds like it's just a,
just dirt floor or
It's a supported structure.
sonotubes or something like that?
Maybe.
yeah, 4x4s.
Cinder block.
All right, any questions about the crawl space and the,
No, from 20 to 10 feet and a half, no.
so Jim, you've
What's
you've
the
seen
minimum?
this?
Yeah, I mean, it's, unfortunately, you're up near the top of the hill in Dogwood, and so
Yeah.
you try to make the best of that situation. I'm not worried about the crawl
Crawl
space so
space,
much,
yeah.
just because everything's falling away from the house.
Yeah, yep, okay. All right, any other questions?
No question.
You're good?
I made a
Okay,
second.
all right, we've got a seconded motion. All in favor of approving the variances as requested, as well as the stipulation of adding a silt fence until the new vegetation, topsoil, and grass can take hold, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. All right, that passes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We got that one done.
Okay. I guess Taylor Street's not.
All right, what time we have? That took a little bit longer.
So, Gray Farm is here, that we can probably do pretty quickly.
No, that's okay.
Sure.
Make
Do
sure
that
that we
and
did
then King
something.
Street.
'Cause it is
Sure.
gonna
Taylor
run
Street
off.
is
Taylor
not
Street.
present, so.
Taylor
Should
Street's
that
not.
be,
That'd be okay, because when
All
I
right,
have,
so, why don't you come on up? Thank you.
with this guy.
This is the existing house plan, and that
Oh, back at
Sharon is
top.
passing
Yeah.
down is the proposed basement.
All right.
Send that to the end.
All right. Why don't you run us through the request? So, just for
Are
what
you a
it's,
contractor? Sorry, contractor or homeowner?
for what it's worth, this is a discussion, not necessarily a hearing, but, so, just formality, just so people are aware. Why don't you go ahead, then, Amelia, and run us through what the concern is with the question.
We've got a room count issue, and basically, I'm trying to, this right here, even though, the only thing that separates this room from this room is the staircase.
There's no door here.
There's no door there,
But we're on
and it's
grade.
actually a good, like, almost
Gray
4
Street.
feet from this corner to the bottom of the first, like, to where the first step is. It looks obviously a lot tighter in the plan,
Yeah.
and the staircase is open on either side.
Okay.
So if the staircase, if this, say it was over here, then we really wouldn't be having this discussion at all, I don't think. It just so happens that that's where they placed it. There's no door, there's no intention of a door.
What's the, so it's 4 foot from the wall?
It's about 6 feet from that wall, almost 6 feet, it's like a couple inches shy.
Okay.
It's like 4 feet,
4 feet
so
from,
like right here.
okay, okay.
Yeah. When we originally went and measured it, there was, the staircase wasn't open on either side, so that's why the measurements got a little, when we took the wall down on the side of the staircase,
Okay.
now it's just the bottom step there.
And what's the request?
Well, they weren't gonna let us do this.
So
to do
it's a
the-
4-bedroom system, and it's currently 8 rooms in the house. The finished room here would make it 9, which is allowable, but the playroom would make it 10, which exceeds the count that's been discussed in
okay.
these finished
Yes.
basement deed restriction
And
things.
I'm saying.
He's saying it's
this-
one room, we're
it's one
saying it's
room.
2 rooms because it's labeled as 2 rooms.
Yeah, but we
and it
can
could
still-
potentially be closed up to be 2 rooms, so that's why it's before you
You know,
to either
okay.
approve as a deed restriction or.
But we
say
don't
it's
vote
one
on
room.
it, so what do we do?
You do vote on it, you determine whether you want them to put a deed restriction on the house to be a 4-bedroom.
Oh, okay.
Deed restriction allowing that additional room, or you make the determination that you feel this is all one room and it forever has to be open with no door and they can't close the stairs up.
Okay, so this space right here, is that sliding doors? into
No, there's no
unfinished
door, there's no door there.
Again, sort of open to an unfinished storage
What's that?
area. This is just open right
No,
here?
no, there's a
Or-
wall that goes all the way
There's a wall,
across. Some-
okay.
Some kind of printing. area.
Photocopy
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
okay.
that's a solid wall right there. This, like I said, both sides of the stairs are open.
Yeah. And the only way into this unfinished area is from the
This,
bulkhead?
no, and from this room,
Okay, there would be an opening or a
like a doorway
doorway right now.
on this side right there.
Okay.
13 feet.
So, full disclosure, these are neighbors of mine. This is a fairly small development, and they're only a half a dozen houses down from us. I don't know them very well, but just full disclosure, they are neighbors of mine. So I just wanted to make sure that people understood that, and we can decide if I need to recuse myself from any vote we take on that. Okay, other questions?
So, windows, wasn't that something to do with
That is.
what consists of a bedroom?
It's not a bedroom, it's a room.
a room.
So the house can't have any more bedrooms, because it's.
Already has
it
4.
already has 4 bedrooms, so these, on this building permit is labeled that these cannot be sleeping areas, so these cannot ever be bedrooms, but it's because this goes beyond the allowed room count. With a 4-bedroom system, you're
It's right
allowed
here,
maximum
discussion.
9 rooms, which
Really
that
fine.
family room would make the 9th room.
So it's not in
Playroom
here.
would make it the 10th room.
But you said there's no walls, so
No, it's just the staircase.
staircase, open staircase
Yeah.
on either side.
Right.
I don't have anything from our agent here. Did you see this at all?
Sure, and so that's why I kind of pushed it here.
Okay.
When we look at rooms, sometimes you look at, in open spaces, you look at room uses. So upstairs in a lot of houses that we see these days, there's not a lot of walls. So your kitchen opens into your dining room, which opens into your living room. And so, I mean, we try to be as fair and liberal with what we think room uses are. So when you look at the basement, there are 2 distinct room uses, and that's why I said it's 2 more rooms. And so to Shelley's point about bedrooms versus rooms, the definition in the code about bedrooms says that in houses that have more than 8 rooms,
Right.
the way to determine the number of bedrooms is to count up all the rooms, divide by 2 and round down. So that's where the issue is here. So it can be addressed by, if you didn't think it was another room, that it's a determination you can make, and I'm okay with that. If you thought it was another room and wanted to have them put a deed restriction on, allow it, that's something well within your ability to do as a board. So.
So we don't ask for any extra bedroom, do you? Am I correct?
No.
No, so, right, we
I'm
either,
trying to say it's just one big room.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
with
it's
no
either,
wall.
we either consider it 1 room, or we consider it 2 rooms and put a deed restriction on.
Okay.
And what's the status of our, we'd rework deed restrictions, what's the status of that?
So the last time that we discussed it, we haven't finalized it, but it was sort of left at that 1 room, Jim could okay the building permits as they came in, but anything that was more than 1 room or a situation like this would be presented to the board and you make the determination. So
Okay.
that's why this one came before the board.
Okay, so.
And the owners aren't here, so, any other questions, or concerns, or comments?
But if it's only for 2 bedroom and only thing you need is well, there's gonna be a restriction on it. Am I correct?
There's two
No,
things we can do.
no.
We could just say,
Bedrooms.
yes, one room, and we agree, so therefore, there's no action we need to take because it falls under the
Right.
n divided by 2 round down, and it still fits a 4-bedroom system. If we think it's 2 rooms, because there's, in our opinion, 2 distinct uses, now it's 10 rooms in the house, which means would need a 5-bedroom system, which means there's a deed restriction, it can never be listed as a 5-bedroom, it has to be a 4-bedroom. I mean, those are the 2 things. It's not really whether we're calling these bedrooms or not, we're not.
Right.
And certainly, you guys aren't calling them a
No.
bedroom, it's just, do we surpass the n divided by 2?
Well, the deed restriction is to limit the number of rooms or bedrooms they have right now, right? The number.
That's what the
bedroom
purpose of
count.
the deed restriction.
Yeah, so they're already restricted because the septic permit is only for that set number of bedrooms anyway. So what's the gain for a deed restriction?
Because then it goes on the deed, and anyone who looks at the house knows that
Right,
it's
when
only
they
a
go to sell the
4-bedroom.
house, they
see
sell it
no-
as a 4-bedroom, they can't say
Right.
for a
Anyone who buys
5-bedroom
it
house.
realizes the basement
They
can't
can't
be
say
made
it's a
into
basement
addition.
apartment.
But they
Right.
should already know that because of the septic permit.
Doesn't matter, no.
When
and-
someone's buying a house, they
Yeah.
rarely see the septic.
Realtors
Okay.
call it whatever they want to call
So
it.
it's just a conservative approach to
And if the
reinforce
if
that
the
this is
basement
a
has windows
4-bedroom and not a
too,
5-bedroom
it's gonna
house.
look
Doesn't have
like
any
a
windows
unit.
in that room.
Right.
And I would definitely say, I'm actually currently looking for a house. You know what size bedroom the septic system is.
But we're not talking
There's
bedrooms,
no-
we're talking
there's-
rooms.
Right, but you know, like if you were to see a 4-bedroom septic listed on the MLS sheet, and you walked in and they were advertising 5 bedrooms, you would know that something was wrong,
But
because
a-
it doesn't,
But a deed restriction is pretty easy, you just write it up and.
I'm
record it.
willing to do whatever you want.
The
I'm just
normal
saying.
person looking for a house,
Yeah,
like he said, we don't look, even when I looked, and I did because I went through the VA system, so it was something that the inspector was saying, this is what we're looking at. I wouldn't have thought that. You do it every day. And I'm not questioning the fact of what you're saying. But they can do whatever they want with it once
Yeah,
it's built.
I don't mind a deed restriction, and neither does the
I
homeowner.
think I'd feel more
I've
comfortable with a deed restriction, I don't think it hurt, it doesn't.
Doesn't hurt anybody.
the other thing a deed restriction does is at some point, they couldn't put a 5-bedroom system in there, right? Even if they could fit it, right? They'd have to rework everything,
They'd
right?
have to put a system in for 5. The only other thing I'd have to check and see if it's within the town's zone 2.
Yeah.
If it's within the town zone 2, those lots are all undersized then. If it's a nitrogen-sensitive lot, they're all like 20,000 square feet.
Yeah,
And you wouldn't be able to.
yeah, I don't even know if you
It
can.
just reinforces
I
it,
think
it
the
makes it
important
more
thing is,
transparent.
with the new accessory bylaw, it's
Yeah.
important to put these deed restrictions on because there's allowances that allow for these accessory apartments now. So if you're going beyond the room count on the septic system, if it's then deed restricted, that's just a trigger. If down the road, they sell this house and somebody
Yes,
wants to
yeah.
do it, they have to come back before the
So
board again to
the
do it.
deed restriction would be, just to make sure I'm clear, that it is a number of bedrooms.
Right.
It doesn't include the number of rooms, right, on the deed restriction?
Right, it restricts it to be a
So putting a deed
four-bedroom
restriction says
house.
they cannot use this as a bedroom. They can only use it as a.
Well, they can't list it, they can
List it.
Basically, they
That's
could
what I
do
mean.
it.
Can't be
They
as a
can
site.
use it as they want, they
Right.
can't list it as a
It will be
5-bedroom.
on the building permit, it's listed as cannot be used as a sleeping area, so that, covers it as, that
okay.
it can't be a
I'm
bedroom.
clear.
What they use it for, I mean, we're not looking in the windows to see what they're doing, but the wording on the permit covers that, and then the deed restriction is just an added layer covering that it's a 4-bedroom house, not a 5-bedroom house, should they sell it in the future. We're not doubting what the current people are doing, it's future people.
It's also precedent, so.
Right.
I
And we've gone through these a few times over the
I
last
think
couple
the
of
deed
years.
restriction be fine because it's only 2-bedroom. Am I correct? The house is only
It's a
No, it's a
4-bedroom
four-bedroom.
house.
4-bedroom. 4-bedroom.
Yeah.
But in this particular area here, you can put 2-bedroom, extra bedroom over here.
Well, so that's.
That's why we're
the
putting
purpose
a
of the deed
restriction on it, so they
restriction, yeah.
cannot.
Let's put a deed restriction.
Yeah. Okay, does someone want to make that motion then?
I'll move that we require a deed restriction
For 32.
to clarify that it's a 4-bedroom house for,
32 Gray Farm Road.
yeah.
Second.
Second, any further questions?
No,
All in favor of granting the, or requiring the deed restriction to limit this to a 4-bedroom house, say aye.
Aye.
I oppose, and I abstain. I don't oppose, I meant I
Okay.
abstain. Okay, that's it, so good to go, I don't know, I'm
Thank you.
sure everybody knows what the paperwork is.
You know, but I can send you the sample document from the state.
Okay,
Well, it's the document you recorded. Okay, shoot right there.
all right,
You can then keep on going with
Yeah.
both
I've
of
got
those now.
2 kids, I have a house in that same neighborhood that's probably a little bit bigger, I have 2 kids and we have a
We'll
finished.
send you that.
I'll give you an
A playroom
I
and
have it on the.
Okay.
They have a playroom and an office room, and it's got a
Yeah.
sliding door that's.
This is a big room, you know that?
No, it's
She
not.
wants to have
No,
this
you
done.
got
No,
big
I've-
ones like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty standard for what they build now.
Wow.
These aren't big houses, I mean, they're big compared to what
They
we see.
maximize all
Probably in the
space that they
middle
can
of
have.
it. Yeah,
These days, sure.
Yeah.
yeah. Just trying to get bigger.
I mean, 13 feet to me seems pretty big.
yeah. I came from the Midwest, I lived in Missouri for a
I
number of
was
years.
born and raised in
Much-
Indiana.
See, much bigger house. Okay, Taylor Street condemnation order, we don't have anybody here for that?
So,
Done that
I'm not sure how up-to-date you are with what's happened with the property it sold. This is the house that the board condemned a number of years ago.
Okay,
It got sold to Mr. Ernest's son.
yep, okay.
Because now it has a new owner, we need to re-condemn, if you will, or reassign the condemn, put the condemnation back on the correct property owner.
Okay.
The property, except for it's been cleaned up significantly. And there's
So I've
no doubt
heard,
about
yep,
it.
yep.
I mean, the outside's great, the inside's amazing, the difference. But all of the other issues that would have caused it to be a condemned house still exist. No furnace, the plumbing's been all cut up, the electrical's all cut up. So what we need to do is, again, condemn the property on the new owner. A couple of things it does is kind of gives a time frame for the board. So again, with condemned properties, after a year, the board can consider tearing it down, if that's
Right.
the case.
And if he wants to fix it up, then he has to
But
come in.
that's the thing, that's
in
right.
front of
So
it.
I sent out the notice for him to come here. The notice came back unclaimed.
Okay.
I'm going to check the address with Shelley, make sure I got it right, and if that's not the case. My thought is I would like to get him the notice first, so he can at least, what we're doing is essentially, the state has a couple of ways to do condemnations. One is you can do an emergency condemnation, so if the place is so horrible and somebody's living in it, you just need to deal with it. The other condemnation is what they call condemnation with notice, and that's what I did in this case here. We notified the owner by certified mail. Unfortunately, the address I got, unless I made a mistake with the address, it was unclaimed.
Okay.
So I will try again. And that, to me, is the appropriate way to do it. Nobody's in the house. It's far better than it was, but the condemnation should follow the new owner.
Okay, right, so we'll table this until,
Let me get it so I can feel comfortable that he's been notified and then have it come back so you guys, he has the ability to have a hearing in front of the board. You have the ability to ask him questions and find out what's happening with the property
what his intent
before you
is.
make that decision. Yep.
Okay, all right, we'll table that until that can happen then. All right, very good.
But nobody's in there right now?
Nobody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
I'd just like to let you know the individual that we're gonna send the letter to come at the meeting is right here, but he's not gonna listen to, for discussion or anything, and the gentleman from the Energy North is right there. So what happened is, we didn't realize that we supposed to also send a letter to the owner of the property. So even though he's here, he is in absentia, that means he's gonna receive a letter.
1 second. I've talked to him just now.
Yeah.
He's willing to discuss with you what their strategy is and what they're trying to do.
Okay, hold on a sec. Let's do this in order.
No problem.
Okay?
I just-
We're
I just
jumping
mentioned-
around here.
Yeah,
This-
we just
you know what?
mentioned- I just
It's like,
mentioned it. Yeah.
if we do this in order, then my slow-moving brain can catch up.
problem.
Because right now I'm 5 steps behind, and I apologize for that. But- All right, so I will officially close then whatever discussion hearing we had on Taylor Street. Given that, why don't we jump right to 25 King Street? That's what y'all are here for.
Correct.
Right? Okay, so, again, as I understand it, a notice went out, but only went out to the tenant,
No, the,
operator, correct.
the operator, not the owner.
right.
But who is the operator?
We are the operator
Okay.
north.
And Mikado Associates Inc. is the owner.
Is the owner, and you're here representing them?
That's correct.
Okay, so what is the issue at hand here? What's the discussion. Failed system, yeah, come on up.
Yeah, what
state
system
your name.
failed?
And what
Brian
do you-
Trombley, Energy North.
Okay.
We operate the mobile station on 25 King Street. And is it Mr. Gareffi?
Yep.
Sure, nice to meet you.
Yep.
The system is evidently in failure.
Which system?
The septic system.
Okay.
It's out under the parking lot in the front of the station. I apologize, we don't have plans drawn up yet. They're in process. So what has happened is the system is a pressurized system.
It is.
I'm not a septic expert, I have to admit that right off. So I've learned a lot in this whole process. So when evidently this kind of system fails, it actually pushes the water, instead of it leaching into the ground, it actually pushes the water up into the lot through.
So what ends up happening is the bottom of the system is sealed up, so every time the pump kicks on, it doses the field. There are inspection ports at the end of the leach field. Each leach line has an inspection port. The water just kind of bubbles up there, and in the inspection port, which is in a little island on the Kimball Street side of the system. And so it comes up out of the ground, gets onto the parking lot, and flows down the back towards the wetlands.
Yep.
So when this initially started happening, we have another station down in Berlin, which that system that's at that site is not capable of handling the flow that goes through it, much like what we have here. The way we controlled that was we had a monthly pump out of the tank to keep the water level under control while we have plans drawn up to get that system replaced. So initially, we initiated that course of action, which unfortunately turned out to be not adequate for the amount of water we have going through the system, so we continue to have the problem. We increased it again to about once every 2 weeks. That, there again, was not enough. So where we have landed recently, and it seems to be, over the last couple of weeks, seems to be a pretty good balance, is we're actually having the tank, it's a 5,000 gallon holding tank, pumped out twice a week, every Monday and Thursday. They're taking about 2,500 gallons out of it at each visit. So we're going through a lot of water. So what that has done is that's kept everything underground. Anything that goes out into the field is not enough to push it up. So whatever can be absorbed in the ground seems to be good. So once we established that, then we went back into the building to try and search for things we could do inside the building to utilize less water. We changed out some of the fixtures. We talked to Dunkin' Donuts folks. They're going to help us out a little bit, but Dunkin' Donuts has to do kind of what they have to do. You know, they have to wash what they have to wash. They have to so. It was brought to our attention that one of the major contributors to the amount of water that we use is the toilets, the public toilets we have in there, which, if you've ever been in that facility, are constantly in use. So we put in some new high-efficiency units in there that went from 2.4 to 1 gallon per. So we should cut that down by 60%. And in addition to that, Ross Associates, who was the original designer of the system, so they have all the specs on what is there to begin with, has been brought in assistance to draw up a new system, because evidently when these particular, from what I've learned, when these particular systems fail, you almost have to replace the entire leaching field.
Probably the leach field for sure.
Right. So I believe you've been in contact with them, correct?
I talked to Neil briefly.
Okay.
Part of the issue with, it seems to be the issue with gas stations that have coffee shops.
Mhm.
The wastewater is strong. Between all the cream and the sugar, you got high-strength wastewater. So part of the repair hopefully would be trying to address that high strength of the wastewater. And though the system is designed for 1,000 gallons a day,
Yeah.
in a facility like that, it gets probably hammered between like 5 and 9 in the morning, and then probably a little bit at lunch, and then a bunch at the end of the day. So it's getting big flows at just discrete times of the day. So again, something to try to address.
Where's the wastewater from the car wash going?
That has its own separate system.
And is that working?
We have not had any issues with it. That system, I don't know, does that system have a leaching?
I don't, I think it's
No,
recycled.
it is recycled.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
it's
recycles
a
and
donut.
then I believe it
Shell,
has,
I wrote mobile.
that has sealed tanks that have to be pumped out.
So that's not affecting our system?
No, it's
No,
not
it's
connected.
different, it's a completely different system. So, I'm just here because Mr. Greffey advised that, and that is correct pronunciation.
Yes, absolutely.
Advised we come down and tell you folks that we're aware of the problem, we're addressing it pretty aggressively right now, and we're doing our best to keep it under control. If we have to take further measures to get under control, we will, because not only is it bad from your folks' perspective, but it's our parking lot, and having that coming up through our parking lot is not a real good marketing tool.
Right.
So,
We don't want you to lose any customers.
So there's gonna be a design that's permanent, in quotation marks, fix. I mean, this isn't gonna be on, just pumping twice a week,
Oh, no, no,
right?
no,
So,
no, no.
so Ross and Associates is working on
a
design.
permanent solution.
And what's the timeline for that? Do we know?
I sent a couple of emails back and forth today. They think they'll have the plans done within a couple of weeks.
Does that need to come back to us then?
It will be
Probably?
permitted by the board, yeah.
Right,
The
and
engineer
then, and so, will the fix, just curious, have to tear up the
Eventually.
lot and?
I don't have the plans yet.
Yeah.
It is looking that way.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not sure what it'll be, but
Mhm.
the problem is the leach field's sealed up, so they're gonna have to
Right.
take out the old.
Right.
And likely, that's the best place, because between the car wash and the gas tanks and
Right.
where else?
everything else, that's the spot that was left for the leach field.
Mhm.
And it's good soil underneath, it's just that, again, because of the amount of water and the strength of the wastewater going in the ground, it just fails quickly.
Yep. How old is that system? Do you have any
I think
idea?
it's 10 years old.
Wow, okay,
In 2007.
Yeah, so just 10 years old, yeah.
okay.
Do you know how much, what your water use or discharge reduction is with the efficiency measures you
We
implemented?
don't yet because it was just implemented last week, so.
Because we'd be interested in knowing that. I'm glad you did that. I think that was really good. You guys should be complimented.
Right,
on
and we
that.
really should have thought that long beforehand, to tell you the
Yeah,
truth. But because it just reduces
a
our
good-
water usage.
It's a good practice.
Quite, exactly.
Yeah.
Also, too, if we need to, although there are not the automatic sinks in there, but going forward, that could be something that could reduce
Yeah.
water further. I don't know how much impact that would actually have, but every drop helps,
Yeah, and you could reduce some of the stress on your system.
quite.
The good thing about the automatic sinks is every once in a while you go into a bathroom that doesn't have it and somebody's left the faucet on.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it automatically shuts them off when somebody leaves.
Exactly.
Does Dunkin' Donuts have the 3-bay sink in there?
Oh, I believe so. They may have two.
So then their soap, detergents, and their sanitizers not breaking down the enzymes in the dairies? So it's still staying really heavy?
The problem is so much of it goes down there. I mean, you've ever seen
Right.
they'll dump the coffee down, they're putting sugar in it, the sugar's all going down there, so.
Yeah.
I used to work for Global.
Yep.
And I did convenience stores before now I'm in laundry and kitchen chemical sales
Mhm.
for UNX. So we have a lot of restaurants that are having a lot of heavy soil waste too, and there is remedies to that, which they may not know, which I cannot be in the position to present that, I guess, at this point, but because of the conflict, but I can present an idea from some other company that can actually break those down.
We have been working with a RADA,
Okay.
a local septic company, and he actually has suggested sampling of the water, testing it to see what its composition is, and then, he's probably talking about, like I said, I'm not an expert, he's probably talking about the same kind of thing that you are, where there's
It's
certain
something
things
that
you
eats
can
the enzyme.
add
It's an
to,
enzyme
right,
issue.
exactly, you can add to the water in the tank or add to the tank.
I would talk to
that-
Ecolab. They specialize in restaurant and a little bit of
Yeah,
hotel,
because
but they
RAD
can
is
actually break that
septic,
down.
and you'd want to go to a
You want to have something that
specialist.
breaks it down before it hits your drain. I mean, we have something with my company, but again, I can't do that, but I can actually reach out to Ecolab and see what they have and help
That
with
may
that
be the
situation.
Dunkin' Donuts people more directly than maybe us.
Well,
We
my
don't- we
father-in-law's
don't
VP
operate-
at Dunkin' Brands, so I will talk to him to check into that Dunkin' Donuts.
We don't operate the Dunkin' Donuts, we just lease the space. So that is the update
Okay.
for the site, that's where we're at right
Thank you.
now.
Thank you for
I have
coming.
a question or a suggestion.
Mhm.
Do you have to change the gas tanks every once in a while? Because this is, redoing the system, you're gonna rip up your whole parking lot, and will you have to close down?
Well, the leaching field is on this side of the lot, the
Right.
tanks are on that side of the lot.
Okay.
The tanks, if they're, and I'm going to assume if they were put in, was the site built 10 years ago? I apologize, I wasn't.
tanks that are in the ground are single wall Xerxes fiberglass.
Okay,
They've
so
been for quite some time.
single wall fiberglass do not have a sunset on them. They can be, as long as they constantly test out for tightness, they can remain in place indefinitely at this
Yeah,
point, right?
Just totally not on our, but
Right.
trying to coordinate changing those and if you ever had to,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, that, fortunately enough, they're on
Different direction.
separate.
And it's not
That's
gonna,
good.
is it gonna affect the business at all while you're, well, you don't know what the plan is and the timetable or what?
More than likely it will, because that whole half of the parking lot that is to the, would that be the east of the,
That
of the.
veterinarian side, yeah.
Yeah, of the fueling area,
Mhm.
that's where the septic area is.
Mhm.
So more than likely, most all, if not all of that parking area out there would have to come up, so.
Yeah, you can actually see the little round manhole covers. There's a line of them that go right across that property when you pull in on the vet side. That's, I mean, that gives you an idea of the length of that leach
Mhm.
field.
Hopefully the dry little covers.
Yes. So probably-
Watch your step,
Yeah.
depending on the day.
Well, so, and that's what I explained to them, that, yeah, the board could be pretty flexible as long as the sewage stays in the ground. It's when it doesn't that you have a
Right.
more difficult time.
Right. And it sounds like within a reasonable amount of time, we'll have plans. And
We hope to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, anything else?
No, make it as
All right,
quick as possible, so that way we can continue your business.
Yes, sir.
all right, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of disappointed people.
Yeah, just get it ready by high school, by the time school starts, because
We'll
high school
decrease,
students
we'll decrease our,
will not have coffee.
our Dunkin' level by what? Maybe 25%?
All the other donkeys are on the other side of town. You gotta go
Town of
somewhere.
8,000
Time out, no, we'll keep it open.
Foot traffic, you got foot traffic, you can walk
We'll just
in.
set the septic truck right there so that, you know, they
Okay, that's
can go in one and, anyway.
Would you cannot
okay.
sign out, you give them a...
No, they're all set.
They're all
They got their
set.
names.
We're all good. Okay,
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
all right, excellent. Do we have any, okay, why don't we run through administrative matters real quick? Any board member reports? Anything?
I do.
No, at the moment,
Email.
I did want to talk about Turkey Farms, but I see it's already here.
Yeah.
So why don't we'll get to that
Okay.
in a second
Yep.
then? Okay. Anything else? I will say, and I can do this by email, again, there's a series of dates over the next 2 months that I know for sure that I'm gone, that I
Yeah, I
wouldn't
think
be
we
able
should
to attend.
just try to
so-
go through those and let's just try to set dates now, because I have to get them on the calendar and,
All right, so,
hang on, let me just grab my sheet.
So it's typically the first Tuesday and the last Tuesday.
nope,
Second and
second
fourth.
and fourth.
Second and, okay, I'm totally wrong then.
Do you have any minutes here?
There was one other thing I wanted to talk about. We don't have to do it at this meeting,
Yeah, I do
but it's good
too.
to do with compliance.
So,
Sorry.
so the next meeting would be August 8th, because we've combined the July meetings.
Yep.
So August 8th, I have John and Gino as being here, Aaron is not being here, Lisa and David, August 8th?
I'll be here.
Yep.
And then the 22nd's after that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I am gone the 22nd.
John is gone, okay. So again, we can talk about whether we want to combine the August meeting into the third week of the month, or...
I'm gone the 15th.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, everybody else,
So if everybody else,
on
we
the
have a
8th, we
quorum
would
on-
have 4 members, and on the 22nd, we would have 4 members, so we could just keep it,
Keep that, okay?
okay? September? is there-
And I am gone the 12th, which is the first meeting of September. That's the second Tuesday, and I'm gone then.
Anybody else have any issues on that meeting?
So that month
My
in
schedule, I'm
August,
sorry.
there's only August 8?
No.
August 8th and August 22nd, so we'll
Okay,
stay the
22nd.
same.
You said, good thing you said 22nd, because the 20 I'm going to Maine for lobsters all day.
But you'll be here the
You're gonna
22nd?
hate me?
No, I don't like lobsters. You can
Me
have
too,
mine.
I have to make my wife happy.
I don't like Dunkin' Donuts either, so it would bother me if that got shut down.
Right.
No offense.
I don't take any offense to it either. I don't like it either.
I don't
make my
drink
own.
coffee, so-
Exactly. All right, so we're on September
make
12th. Again, I'm out.
What about October?
We're not
I
there
mean,
yet.
we
We're not
could
there
do-
yet. We're on
we-
September 20th.
We could look at
12th and
September
26th.
12th, more like on the August 8th
Yeah.
meeting, once.
I don't know where I
people
am
come.
in September,
Yeah.
sorry.
Well, so it's just through that week. I know I'm gone that week.
Okay.
Now, I don't know about the following 2 weeks in September, and I may end up being gone some of those weeks as well.
Generally by the 22nd, I would have a sense of what's coming in, and if nothing's really coming in, I try to just combine them into one meeting for
Sure.
a month anyway, so.
The thing is, I schedule.
Yeah, I
work-
know your
I-
work
I
is-
cancel my patients on Tuesday
Yeah.
nights, every second and fourth.
So if
So-
everybody else, so
My
what I would
schedule-
say is, let's just talk on the 8th.
Would be
Well, we got the
changed, it would
quorum.
be changed, it would be hard for me to change.
Right.
On
the
August 8th,
opposite.
we'll just check again on the 12th, and if everybody else thinks they'll be here, we'll just keep it for the 12th,
Okay,
for September 12th.
yep. and
But for
beyond
now,
then-
let's keep August 8th and August 22nd, so there's no more meetings in July,
Yep,
okay?
Okay.
And then August 8th, and then August 22nd.
yep.
Okay.
September 12th,
Okay, very good.
no problem.
Any other board member reports?
So my question was about compliance in that, I think there might be a possibility that, especially in the Long Lake neighborhood, that when we have people coming in and they're doing a rebuild, or they're upgrading, not upgrading the system, well, upgrading it for compliance, and they're going in with like a two-bedroom house, and they're gonna keep two bedrooms on the same footprint, but there's an expansion of the square footage of the house. The houses are actually being staged as like a three-bedroom because there's so much increase in square footage. You following me?
Yeah, but if
I
it's,
get you, but
Yeah.
if it's a deed restriction for two bedroom, it doesn't matter if they have an extra room.
Well, if you're, but this has got to do with compliance.
That depend on the inspector and,
Are you talking about someone selling the house?
yeah.
I guess I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give my opinion, we're the Board of
Yeah.
Health, I don't really care about
It
resale,
really
that's someone else
becomes,
to take care
the
of.
buyer's responsibility to
Yeah.
come into the building department and
Yeah, that's
look
a
at the
different-
records and
But
see
if
what it's
you-
for,
wait,
because
wait, if
on
you-
record, it says it's a two-bedroom, the septic system says it's a two-bedroom, the
Right.
building permits say it's a two-bedroom.
If they stage it up.
If a realtor calls it a three-bedroom,
Well, and the deed, there's a notice right on the deed.
Right,
now that
two
says
bedrooms.
it's
Deeds
two
restricted.
But I
it.
guess my point is that we're dealing with reality here, and the reality of it is that these things are going in with increased square footage, and they're going in and being used as a three-bedroom.
They can't.
And there's nothing we can do about that.
Well,
that's where
there's
this one
always-
came into play. That's gonna
Right.
be a bedroom.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna go looking around and figuring it out because they don't have windows,
But
so.
see, that's an existing
I
house.
say let
I'm
'em
talk-
live in it.
I'm talking, I agree with
Yeah.
you, but I'm talking about a development and replacing small houses with 1,200 square feet, with 2,500 square foot houses. Coming in here saying it's a two-bedroom, and I understand legally it is, but really on your 2,400 square foot house, it's a three-bedroom, and that's how it's staged.
I guess that's someone else's responsibility.
I
It's
I don't know
not the
how
Board of
you,
Health's
I'm not sure how you
Yeah.
regulate that.
You can't regulate. If they
Well, you-
wanna,
you
if
do
they
it-
wanna build something, they use
Do
it
it
for an
through
office.
restricting the square footage increase.
No, you
But
don't, you
well,
can't do that.
So hold on a sec. Maybe you can do that, but again, that's not the Board of Health's job.
I'm not really sure we can
There's
restrict
nothing
it.
we can, I mean, we've done what we can do.
if a
It's-
building meets the setbacks, you can't restrict the square footage of the building. Through building permit review, the Board of Health reviews the layout of the house for the number of rooms, and that's where we come into this number of room counts and whatnot, and deed restrictions. But if
You gotta give me a
something
phone-
comes in and
mobile phone
it's
number.
a two-bedroom system and it's deed restricted as a two-bedroom and it's labels as a
With
two-bedroom
emergency,
on the
bedroom,
permanent record
even
plans, and they call something an office or a dining room or whatever, and somebody eventually turns it into a bedroom, we can't control that. It's
notification quick
it's
from
controlled
your
by
boss.
the deed restriction and
Yes.
the wording on a building
Yes,
permit that such an area cannot be used as a sleeping area, which should there be a fire in a basement that these people turn into a bedroom,
Right.
the building permit clearly states it's not to be used as a sleeping area. There's where the town is covered in it, there's where, but we can't,
So the
There's
point,
no
let me just
way we
take
can
I just want to take
regulate
a
it.
step back, just take a step back. So the point of the Board of Health is to protect the environment and health, public health and the environment, basically. Public health, the environment gets affected and the public health gets affected through that. So if we're talking about situations where we're saying, oh, you can't have any more bedrooms because your septic can't handle it. But actually, in reality, it's being staged as a 3-bedroom, it's being used as a 3-bedroom, and the septic is being used as a 3-bedroom. Then we're not doing our ultimate job of doing public health and environmental protection.
I agree with that, so but also whenever we make changes to our house, we have to tell, when they do an assessment, we have to tell them what we've done. They come out and they check it. If they check it and they find that there's a bed in that room, they find that that's being used as a living quarter, and there's a 2-bedroom, but it's showing 3 bedrooms, and they have enough children or enough people living in the house, then it should fall on us to say, your septic is not up to code, then you need to make
No,
a
I
septic
think-
change,
But there's
right?
something,
But
there's
there's
a,
state, well, hold on a second, there are pretty, it's my understanding, there's pretty clear state statutes of what we're allowed to do and what we regulate. We're gonna be overstepping those if we start going into people's houses.
No, but what I'm saying is,
What
no,
can and cannot
I'm not
use
saying
to do
that, but when it comes back and they assess the house and they, whatever changes they made or whatever it is, and then they see that that is that way, the assessors are gonna say something. They're gonna say that this is saying that it's a 2-bedroom, you now made another bedroom, we see that public record,
So
so
what
then
do
why
we
aren't we
well,
supposed to?
there's that, and
They
but the
can't
thing
sell
They
is
can't
that,
make them move it to a 3-bedroom system?
Well, in most cases on those 2-bedroom deed restrictions,
It's the
there's
size
a
of
reason
the
for
lot,
that.
yeah.
Because they'd love to have had a 3-bedroom.
Yeah.
They can't put a system in big enough for a 3-bedroom.
Yeah,
so the place where you can make a
Then they aren't allowed to
difference,
have the 3rd bedroom.
the
Correct.
place where you can make a difference is we're tasked with coming up with judging on variances. So if we have someone come in and they're asking for a variance for a 10-foot from the property line fill, or where they're asking for a variance, we can say, no, you can't have the variance.
no, because if it's for an upgrade, they have to be allowed to upgrade to the same number of bedrooms as what is currently there. And under Title V, it has to be the most feasible septic system, and there's certain criteria in going down that they have to meet. So the engineer designs it to the maximal feasible compliance. So you can't not grant it because you think somebody's using something as a 3rd bedroom. Where you can control it is in situations like this, and you can say no. You can say, no, you can't have this additional living space.
That's what I'm getting at.
But that's only
This is
covering
where
us.
you can restrict it, but in an existing house that just needs a septic system upgrade, and it's a 3-bedroom current system, and they're upgrading to a 3-bedroom system, you can't deny a variance because they are allowed under Title V to upgrade to a
Right.
3-bedroom system or whatever they're currently designed
If
for.
they got the room enough.
Wait, you can deny the
Correct, Jen?
variance.
If they
So,
got the
well,
room.
No.
You can't.
You can deny the variance, but they can overrule it to DEP.
Well, I mean, actually, the board, they'd have to
Why
go
would
to
we
court.
bother, why would they ask us then if it's a done deal? We
Because
have, there
it
is.
meets Title V.
So-
If it doesn't meet local regulations, it still meets
So, I
Title
mean,
V.
again, the board can grant reasonable variances to the regulations, whether it's, Title V or your own local regulations. If you deny those regulations, people can take you to court. It's really the
Yeah.
Board of Health is pretty strong in that authority. It's like you say no, they can't. In most cases, DEP won't even get involved if the board says no. Even when they were reviewing variances, if the local board said no, that was it. You had to go to court.
Yeah.
So, to the point about, it's hard to control intent. So most of these rebuilds, these 2-bedroom rebuilds, come in with 5 rooms. And again, just like I did here, we look at the open floor concepts, we look at the room use concepts, and if they're coming, if somebody comes in with a plan that's more than 2 bedrooms, more than 5 rooms in the house, you've seen them, because I won't approve it.
Yeah, I'm not, I would ask everybody to just be open about this. It's just something to think about.
so I guess.
I'm not,
So our.
I think we should be considering this,
our-
and I
well,
think we should be
We've covered
thinking
this
about
under
it.
the deed restriction policy we've put out.
No, it
Yes,
doesn't.
yes, it says, and basically what it says under deed restriction policy is, Jim will review it, and he can, on its face and in his opinion, approve it without us. If he doesn't feel comfortable or he wants us to weigh in on it, then it kicks to us, and on a case-by-case basis, we can approve it. We could have said no to this. That's
not-
where we have it.
I'm not
It-
talking
it
about
ends-
this. This isn't what the situation
Well, I'm saying any of
talking
these
about.
situations it is. And then after
That
the,
situation, because
yeah.
this is gonna turn into a bedroom.
right,
That's not what
Yes.
I'm,
Potential.
but this is not what I'm talking
It is.
about. I'm talking about
That's why he
taking,
sat back and.
no, I know what you're saying, but that's just, all you're doing, but it's the same thing, you're just, painting the fence a slightly different color. It's the same thing, it is, we've approved the deed restriction, or they have a deed restriction for 2 bedrooms, but clearly they're using it as a 3, or a realtor is staging it to make it look like a 3-bedroom, even though in tiny little letters it says in the MLS that it's a 2-bedroom.
I see your point.
We're not in the business of micromanaging that sort of thing. There are documents and motions and actions in place that we've done our job.
The deed restriction.
But
is
see,
the
we're
best
trying to,
protection.
what I think she's trying to get at, where I would go too, is we're doing our job. We're covering our butts. Why aren't we doing something to help public safety from that beyond?
Because that's
So-
not we're
But then we
doing
can
our
create
job.
problems in the septic system. It can burst, it can have problems on that, whatever it is, it can have
So
scratch.
It
I
also
would,
has problems
so I
with
would
butters.
challenge anybody
So
to
who
tell me where
polices
that's
it?
happened. Yeah,
Who
how
polices
we would, so where is that, when does that happen?
We don't have a right to
Outside
go
of the
into
student
people's houses
slums
and see what they're
in
using their
Ulster.
rooms
Where does
for.
that happen? In Littleton?
It could happen right
So
now.
we're-
It could be happening right now. We just
No.
approved
So
this to be
we're
open.
gonna change the way we
I'm not-
function because some crazy thing might happen?
No.
That's ridiculous.
Well, I
No,
think,
we just,
I don't know, I'm not following you at all about
I'm
slums in Alston.
What I'm saying
I
is,
lived in Alston.
where has that happened where there's been so much pressure put on a septic system because people didn't use it to the intent in which it was approved?
Well,
Where
that's
does that
what we're
happen?
doing. Why did we make
Why
a
we
judgment on
didn't-
anything
yeah,
then?
So why are we having this discussion about
The deed
compliance?
restriction's your best protection.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and it fits within, I think the
Okay.
other issue you want to have, if you started saying to developers, this was a little 800 square foot house, we'll let you maybe have 1,000, I think you find yourself in court. Because the code doesn't really
You
give you
can't
the
under
ability.
zoning.
Yeah.
It's-
Right.
you're-
I
you're not-
just-
You don't have that authority.
I brought this up
Under-
for discussion.
Yeah.
I would like.
The board doesn't
can
have
I-
that authority.
Can let me just.
As a zoning assistant for the town, I'm telling you, you do not have that
I'm
authority
not
to
asking
make
for
that.
authority. Let me finish the
You
sentence.
don't have the authority to do that. I'm just
I'm
telling
not
you.
asking to do anything.
But you're having a discussion about something you don't
I-
have the authority to do.
Oh my gosh. I
But we
would
can
like.
say no to a room,
Yeah.
which would do what we're trying to do.
What I'm trying to say is that I'd
Got it.
like to see us benchmark against other towns. And it might come up that nobody's doing it, but I don't know. I'm asking the question. And I'll do it myself. I'll just call the other towns and I'll find out. I brought it up to discuss. That was it.
But for one thing is, for my opinion, I'm telling you right now, Harvard, Air, or Westford, or Concord, they might have some different regulations. I live in Littleton, I'm talking about trying to help the people in Littleton. If they go overboard, we'll say no. Very simple.
Fine. Okay.
I do agree that we should not go out and try and find the ones that are already overboard. There's no point in doing that. We're
No,
not
I
the
agree
police.
with you.
No,
I
That's not what I'm
agree.
talking
I agree,
about.
we're not gonna go police that, but this is now what we're trying to prevent it happening further.
But this is what.
Thank
If
you.
it does,
done.
we'll
This is
we'll
what
deal
this
with
is-
it.
This
Got it.
deed restriction policy is about.
So we've always done this? In the 2+ years I've been on the board?
Right,
We
right.
have always done this? It is in the last half a year, we've put pen to paper and had a consistent, detailed policy on how we address it. But we've always done this in the 2+ years I've been on the board.
Like I
Now, what
said,
happens after the fact?
I tell people all the time, I says, I have the authority that I get from the board, and if it's
Right.
within that authority, I sign things. If it's not, it goes to the
Right,
board.
right. We say yes or we say no.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants to, they have a 2-bedroom, and they have enough land, and they want to say, I'm going to throw the house down, and I'm going to build 5-bedroom, and they're going to put a system for 5-bedroom, there's no way we can say no.
Oh, well, we
Because-
wouldn't say no to that,
All right?
but when,
So
what
when
we're
you
getting
say
at is
staging,
existing.
when you say staging, that means building. If you even have a 2-bedroom, and you want to have an extra 2 room for some other reason, but there is still two-bedroom and is recorded as a two-bedroom. So it doesn't matter if you have an extra room, you can have an extra bathroom, or you can have an extra kitchen. That is, doesn't include restriction, remember that.
So I can go into my house right now and add a bedroom, which I have room for, and just plumb it into the septic system,
No.
and there's nothing that can go wrong.
No. If you have a home of 2 or 3 bedroom, and the septic system is for 3 bedroom.
Yes.
You'll have no problem.
But we can't speculate that that's gonna be a bedroom. I get that, because we can't, it's not our job to speculate. Our job is to say, well, they told us it's going to be
It can
an extra
be-
playroom or an extension to the
Or
playroom.
an office,
Right.
doesn't.
Or an office.
The way it's
anything.
protected.
But you can
is
never
the
sell as a
heat
bedroom.
Restriction and the wording on the building permit that
Right.
it cannot be used as a sleeping area. That's the
According with all the Title of
protection.
Five,
Right.
all we need to do is listen to the people that come and present it, ask the questions, like we did today with the grading, and we
Right.
passed with,
right.
you put in the mesh, the silk fence. But technically, we're not gonna say no to building out, or doing new things unless we see it's a glaring, crazy, like, oh, I'm putting 6 rooms in here when it's built for a 2 system.
It's a case-by-case
I
thing.
think that's really important. It's always a case by case.
It's a case, so one of the things we talked about was, does it substantially change, if someone's putting an addition on, it substantially changes the footprint of the house. But it really only adds 1 room, and it's not gonna be a bedroom, blah, 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 but it's changing the footprint of the house. The intent there is pretty clear, and that may trigger us to question it and maybe not grant that deed restriction, right?
Because
So-
you're saying that we would kinda say, well, you're making a master bedroom, or you're doing something
Yeah, on a
else.
case, right.
But see,
that's-
that was what we could have done with this one.
Sure, we could have, absolutely.
But we're not supposed to speculate.
No,
for
but I think if
small-
anything, Jim is very conservative in the way that he counts rooms, and that's why
Yeah,
so many of these come to you, because people say, no, that's 2 rooms, and Jim's counting it as 3. And so I think we have
The other,
a lot of oversight in it, in that
So you're kind of the
it
gatekeeper to
puts
get to us,
it
so
onto
if
you
question
to
it,
make that
it's over.
determination,
And
because
I try to be reasonable with people and look at what the use of that. I mean, a good example is sometimes you get a big kitchen and they bump out, like put a little bump out right off the kitchen for an eating area. Well, I wouldn't call it a room because there's a dining room in between
Right,
it.
right.
And I've seen houses, maybe they have a small table. I mean,
Right.
so you try to look at how the house is set up and
Mm-hmm.
make a judgment call. But if I think there are distinct uses in it, yeah, I'll kind of.
And you actually go into the houses to
I
do
do
the
not.
inspection?
No, I do they do the
Floor
building
plans.
inspections.
Floor plan, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, to me, the importance of having a floor plan is that when somebody comes in and says, oh, no, that room was always a bedroom, so you pull out the plans and go,
Yeah.
oh, no, this was not a bedroom, and it's, I mean, that's the thing, I mean, you've seen a couple of these basements, or a couple of these come before you where somebody else has finished it ahead of time, and
that's the other thing is also we're wanting to encourage people to come. If we start being very restrictive, people are just gonna
Right.
finish these on their own without permits
Right.
and without proper oversight.
Yeah.
And then they come to us when they wanna sell
Too late.
it,
Yeah.
and they say, can we get this added on now? We've had that. I mean, now we've gotta either put a restriction on after the fact, but there was never properly inspected because they did it without permits and et cetera.
We have to encourage
Right,
them.
so that was also part of that, we were tired of like, oh, people come and say, well, we want to sell the house, but we bought it like this. You're like, yeah, I don't
Right,
think that
right.
was the case. But, you know what I mean, but there was no paperwork, there was no paper trail to really understand what went on. So now we're trying to, by having this restriction, or this policy, that we can follow, it, and having that discussion, it'll bring people in to have the discussion.
And we also have that new bylaw too, right? The
Yeah,
additional
but we need
dwelling.
regulation.
What is
Right.
it? What does it cover? Read.
So it
2 seconds.
basically just allows people to create, they're calling them accessory apartments, but it basically allows you to rent out a section of your house, to make an apartment in your house and rent it out. In the past, it used to have to be, you used to have a communicating door so that it was still considered a single-family dwelling. It had to be a blood relative or a functionally dependent person in the unit so that it was still considered single-family. The new bylaw allows that you can now have a non-related person, you can rent out a section of your house. So it's basically, under building code, a 2-family, under zoning, it's called an accessory apartment. But Jim and I are working on conditions that when these start to come in of what they have to meet as far as complying with their septic, and then there's also all sorts of building code issues that come up with it, but
This was approved at town meeting.
this was approved at
by-
May town
Oh,
meeting,
I'm not
so
questioning it, I just
it's
wanted to know what
very
it was.
recent, but that's something that's gonna be coming up, so,
You
you know.
may see more and more if you were, some of you guys were here for the Evergreen.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that would be a perfect example where somebody is looking to add 3 rooms to a house that was already restricted to a 2-bedroom.
Right.
And it's like, no. So, I mean, it's the bottom line, it's just.
Right. So that's where you're gonna see more and more of these, I think, coming in, and that's where you're gonna start saying no to things because it is beyond that room count. It is far beyond what the septic system can allow.
So we say no, and to, what, the example you just said, they want to add 3 rooms to a 2-bedroom, something, and they rent it out. Even if it meets all of the codes as if it was fine, if it was already existing, if it did. So we say no, they do it anyway, and nobody's policing, nobody knows it happened, so then what happens after that? Who finds out that it happened?
Well, if their septic system fails, then
Yeah,
you end up
they're coming
finding out
back,
that
yeah.
they had too much water.
Okay.
So if the Board of Health says no, then the building
No,
permit
no,
can't
does
be,
anything or what?
can't
No,
be
they'll end up
issued?
replacing the septic system. I mean, a $30,000 bill is pretty punishing.
It's tough, the enforcement, I mean, it's
The
tough,
building permit
because
will
they
not
have
be
to,
signed.
But-
usually it doesn't hit until there's a sale. Like, there are lots of houses here that don't have any septic systems, and they just go until they're gonna sell it, and that's the first time.
But so it's a building
When they
permit
come before
process.
us,
They don't have any septics, but then it's not on town?
They may have an old cesspool.
Yeah, right. It's an old system that wouldn't meet Title V.
Gotcha.
And they don't, they may know that, but it doesn't become.
a hole in the ground,
Right.
it's like,
Yeah.
pretty much no.
But
Gravity
the other,
goes
the
down.
other example on the Evergreen, I think, and this is where Shelley was gonna go, they can't get a building permit signed off unless we approve that
And we-
request, and if we say no, they can't get that building, they can't do they just can't do the work, right? It's the same, like, I've got, right, we all have septic system, I got a septic system, if I wanted to, I could not legally, and not by our laws, I could put a trash, a disposal system in, right? They're not allowed by our bylaws, although they make allegedly the
Because
septic
your septic
system compliable,
Allegedly.
but I could put one in if I wanted to. No one's gonna check that.
But then when there's something.
But when I go to
happens,
sell the house, I've gotta pull it out, or if it fails, they're gonna see
replace
it.
the system.
Which is part of my point, the only time we have any kind of purview, and I think it's the way it should be, but, is when they come in and ask for variances.
Yeah.
That's the only place where it's gray, so when we're in that gray area, variances, we have the ability to decide what's the basis of our judgment,
Right,
and how we want to make those decisions.
And
And
I-
that's changed over the years.
Yeah, but I think we've laid out the policy recently on how we're gonna do that.
Well, for basements.
Well, I think it's anything, I think it's fairly broad.
You can put it in the tough one.
What, the deed restriction policy?
Yeah, I think it's fairly broad,
Yeah. I
actually.
mean, and it's one of those things,
Oh, that's neat.
if somebody comes in and asks for one extra room in the basement, it's one big open playroom, I mean, and it's a, full basement with no walkouts and stuff like that, the chances of it being anything other than playroom is probably
Do you have a
slim.
copy of it?
When you see somebody who has a walkout basement,
Right.
particularly a walkout to a pond.
Right.
Right.
Then you say-
Kitchen, a bar area down, I mean, all of a sudden you look at things a little differently. as far as what it
The
might
other thing
be.
happening down here is now they're gonna put in a TV, they have room to sit and all that, so that's just not a bedroom, but.
I mean, you can't police completely what people do in their
No,
house.
so that's what I mean, that's the only time you have anything to say, you can kind of direct it a little bit on what's happening.
But I questioned at that last meeting, how do you get to the dining room through this full bath? Oh, that's not a dining room,
Oh, yeah, right.
you know, like,
What was that? Other than that.
Well, that's when
Oak
you
Road.
know that something's completely glaring wrong, you say, all right, we're gonna.
But you know,
We don't believe, that's when we can say, we don't necessarily believe this is happening, so we're gonna deny for now.
Sometimes I don't even know those things come to you, and they just come to you, I don't see
Yeah.
them, so that one I didn't send to you, but,
Well,
and I
he came
have no
for,
idea what it
he
looked
came
like, so.
to finish the base, to get a deed restriction for a finished basement for an office, but the house is staged with an office.
A 2-bedroom nonetheless.
two-bedroom.
And that's
That-
it, and that's
an
a new
example of,
build.
that's listed as a 3-bedroom if you look on the real
Oh, it
estate
is?
page.
So that's
Yeah.
it,
Is that
this
really?
is exactly what I'm talking, that's a new build. So if you've got
It's
somebody with
listed,
an
but
existing
the-
house, but if you're
I will
talking about a
often send the railroad
developer
roll of notes
coming in
saying,
to
And that's what we
maximize
do, is we
profit,
catch it.
and to
We'll-
get an
we'll
approval
send
from
the realtor,
realtor,
but
and that's
bedroom-
not what they're doing.
Alright.
In my mind, that's
But we just
totally
saw
different.
that. I just
So-
saw
I'm
that
not
yesterday.
sending that. Yeah.
All right, so I think we all are in violent agreement that we evaluate these case by case, and we ask the appropriate questions, and I think it's been done appropriately.
We tried to,
appropriate
again.
To date, in the
I
2
try to
years.
be as fair and
I
equitable.
think you could do some improving, just my 2 cents.
I-
I don't need to
I'm
argue,
comfortable with
don't need to
what we've
argue
done.
about it, just making a statement.
All right, anything else?
There's.
The Durkee Farms?
What's the Durkee Farm? That was the additional testing, where's that stand?
I sent a letter after your meeting. I watched the meeting and kind of tried to paraphrase what I thought it was that you were asking for, which would look like, get together with me and let's figure out what's happening with the water
Right.
table. I'm not sure Conservation has addressed the pond with them yet, so I think the water's still high in that pond.
Oh, my God, it's
Well,
really high. I
Conservation
saw it on
approved
Saturday.
To de-water the pond.
But
Durkee,
to do something permanently or just take the water out of it?
I would have to talk to Amy, but I believe they did have a de-watering plan,
Could
so.
you explain
Yeah.
what's going on?
I was there on Saturday.
Sorry?
I have no idea.
Let's look at it.
So the pond was much smaller when we were doing the soil testing.
Yeah.
So since the road went in,
Well, there
I
we
mean,
go.
that farm pond is
Over near
enormous.
the
And I don't know that it's gone
development over
down in size.
Yeah.
Train station?
So I don't know
Oh,
if
okay, I
that
see.
road has changed the way the water
Yes.
table is
All
moving
right.
through that site.
So,
Yeah.
And that was my concern when I sent them to you, is that I don't know if you put the road in, I thought all of
They
those
put a new
basins
road,
were
right?
connected across the
well,
road,
this is
apparently they're not.
the retention.
So the water doesn't drain from one side of the road to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
other.
yeah.
And so
I see.
I didn't know
I
what's
see.
happening, so that's why I wanted to at least go out
This
there
is,
before we did any more work and try to figure out what's happening.
So are
close
you
the water
talking
is to
about
that
the
house.
hydrology's changed and you want to go and find out where the water table is?
I don't know if it's changed, that's what I'm saying.
Well, it's, on the surface it has.
Well, that's, I mean, if you
So it
look at it,
has.
it's, you know, if you look at the size of the farm pond that was original there, and you look at the size of it now, and it's still up, I think it's
So
still.
the hydrology has changed.
It may have. I'm not a hydrologist, so I.
Well, I am, and it has.
Okay.
So, I'm not a hydrologist, but I'm a geohydrologist,
Yeah,
so.
so that's why I wanted to,
Right.
but I haven't heard from them. I haven't heard.
That's the long and the short of it, they haven't, because they were supposed to connect back with you.
But they have not.
So that gets into, you know, just taking into consideration changing site conditions and how, you know, us looking at requests that come in and also the permits that are issued, if they're not
So they have-
consistent with
So that's-
existing site conditions.
Yeah, exactly. So, and in fact, one of the reasons they came to us is because they wanted, if I remember right, the stats they wanted, they were ready for occupancy.
Yeah, and I
Sign
told them I
off,
wouldn't sign it,
and
yeah.
he wouldn't sign off on it. They came to us and we said, connect back with Jim when water goes down and do the
Signed off
testing.
on one.
So there's two finished, two houses that
Right.
on the outside look finished, one they're building in the cellar hole that was flooded.
Because I'm really
Right.
concerned that we're gonna sign off on this stuff and it's gonna be a disaster out
But we
there.
didn't sign off on it.
Just the first house.
Just that first
So
house,
the
which
other
was
three,
away,
so,
right.
yep.
Do we need to have a site visit? I know you're going.
Well, you know, that's part of the, I don't know, if you look at the site, except for the pond being large, and again, I don't know why the water's not going down. You know, my kind of small brain understanding of it is that there's a water table there, it's not letting it go down.
Right.
But I don't know.
Well, Chuck DeCosta brought it up, so, you know, it seems
Yeah.
like it's, right now, it's with us, Concom, and the Board of Selectmen.
So I guess my thought is, if those basins all let the water drain through, then maybe you could make a case that, all right, now the water was like it used to be, it used to move through the site, across the site. Now if the ponds all drain, you know, across, maybe it's back to where it was, maybe the water table.
Right.
Oh, you mean it was a construction effect?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it looks like after the fact, that pond is,
I know they had to redo Basin 3,
You're right.
and that there was a dewatering plan, and I think it included drainage under the road.
okay, so that to me would make me feel better, because now instead of having that road act like a dam,
Right,
Amy's-
you've
which
got
is part of the
an
questions.
outlet now to that, yeah.
We can get the plans from
Okay.
Amy for that.
But I just haven't heard from the
But that was,
engineers.
Okay.
that was last Monday night, that was discussed.
I went over there on Saturday and I took some pictures, so.
But we got 4 inches of rain in 2 hours too, so.
Yeah.
But that's,
have a single
that's
one I
the condition, though, that we have to take into consideration if
But
that's what's going on.
It looks like they've been pumping out across the road,
The Basin 3 they've been
Yeah.
pumping, which was
but on the
what-
other side, adjacent to a house.
I actually feel like we need to
The
have a
pond.
joint site visit with
pond.
Board of Selectmen and the Concom.
I think it's a matter that we need to work out with the engineer. I mean, go and take a look. Like I said, it's striking to look and see where that water is relative to that house that you're talking about. Yeah.
It's beautiful, though.
Well,
The pond. Is
beautiful.
that fishing it?
I'm not sure I'd want to walk out my door
I
10 feet
know,
from
they
the
probably
pond,
they
but-
probably have an indoor pool in their basement pretty soon, but.
That'd be my concern is where the water's, but I think it's, and I'm not sure if they're working on the engineering of the drainage and all of that. I mean, to me, that's what I'd be looking for, is what are you doing with that drainage?
Right.
That may alleviate
Because
the water.
if we
on.
approve and then they sell it and they walk away and there's all these septic systems
Well,
out
they
there
did say
and
that
they
the
fail.
responsibility was gonna be the engineer and the builder's responsibility,
Well, I
so
believe
it
your
wasn't.
after the
conditions
sales?
were lots 5, 6, and 7, you won't sign off on
That's
until
right.
there's additional test holes done, so.
And I did send them a
that's
letter,
what-
sent to
where
the
you
owner,
have
to
the
the
control
engineer.
on those
Yeah.
lots.
So they won't get certificate of
I'm sure,
occupancy
I'm
until
sure
we
they're
sign off,
concerned
which is.
too.
But they're gonna walk away at some point, and
Yeah.
the property owners are gonna
But they're
be
not
stuck
gonna
with it.
sell, they're not gonna be
Very
able to
early
sell
in the
any more
construction
houses if
process, I
there's
wouldn't
water
worry about
problems.
that. I mean, there's enough time to
That's too bad.
get
They
this all
should've
under
known
control.
before.
Well, you know, it's,
It's,
Quick money.
It was a Christmas tree farm,
I- I-
you
Oh, I
know,
know
they didn't know.
it's hard to
I know
say.
the
I mean,
owner. I know the owner.
if I understood more how that water moved to the side, I might have been able to say, hey, we should have done this, but I
Maybe
don't.
we should ask them to explain it.
Well, that was part of the issue. I wanted them to be
Yeah.
able to say, how
Around
come
those
this
trees, the root
is now
system's
sitting
gone, so
there?
water's flowing a lot more freely.
So, okay, so I'll wait to hear from them then.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll get an update from Amy.
Okay.
It's a waste of
All right,
time.
and Cooper Farm?
So.
Yeah.
I brought a plan just so you can see. I don't know if anyone's seen the plans with that.
No.
I would just quick and dirty so you can have a sense of what I'm going to explain to you.
Okay.
So the development, and again, it's far more complex than most of your individual. So it's a homeowners association. So there'll be a bunch of single-family lots, and then one lot I understand to be essentially a condominium of over 55 houses.
Okay.
So within that, so there's a lot of legal paperwork that needs to be done for this.
Yeah.
The septic system plan, I don't have a problem with. They seem to have all that, all the piping and all that stuff down. What concerns me, and I'm working with the engineer for the applicant on this, about getting, with it's a shared system, so all of these people are sharing that one system. So DEP requires them to do paperwork, legal paperwork to tie all kinds of things together, so it's
It's a
protected.
building permit.
There's a homeowners trust agreement, so everybody understands what their legal responsibilities. There's also a condominium trust potentially, so that they tie, and so these are the pieces that gets more and more complicated. Then there's a matter of restricting the bedrooms so that the system can only have a certain number of beds. So I'm waiting for all that paperwork. I got it today. I guess one of the things I wanted to ask the board is to have town council review all the paperwork. There's a lot of legal paperwork.
Yeah, I don't think we could follow it.
No, I mean, it's, a lot of it's standard DEP stuff, so the
Yeah.
review shouldn't be difficult.
Yeah.
But I mean, a homeowners association, a condo association, shared system. The other piece of it is DEP requires as part of that shared system approval, and the code says that the Board of Health may approve shared systems, so it's not even a foregone conclusion, it says you may. Is that there be a financial mechanism put in place to do the maintenance and ensure the ability to replace that system at some point in time. So that's another document that goes along with the shared system piece of it. You know, essentially put money aside over
Right.
time, kind of like Dahlia, they cut 2 lots
I
in
think
half.
we're gonna need a primer on shared systems.
Well, they have that's designed.
No, I mean from you, for
So-
us. Because
Say that again?
I haven't reviewed a shared system before, and I know other people on the
Sure.
board haven't.
So when I guess the part of.
It doesn't have to be right now, but at some
Yeah.
point, just,
So the biggest part of that, I mean, the components are all the same. What makes a shared system maybe a little more complicated is all the paperwork that ties everybody together. You know, the rights.
so why does the regulation give the Board of Health the ability to say no on those?
Well, then, I guess, it's the ability for you to say no, that if they don't comply with the regs, or if you don't believe that
Oh,
maybe
there's just 3
the financial mechanisms in place.
Everybody can
Financial
sign them.
mechanisms
Yeah.
for the most part, so it's maintenance?
Well, so there's operation and maintenance, so they have to do Title V inspections on a regular basis. Unlike your house, we only have to do a Title V.
Okay, so we just need to make sure that that's all in place and
And that's the
legally
big part of
binding.
it. So that's what I guess I'm asking the board is to, I don't know what the process is for engaging town council.
So, we can do it 2 ways. You can make a motion to allow Jim to contact, I contact Keith to get approval for you to contact town council, or I contact Keith to get approval for me to talk to town council, or, you know.
Yeah, give me the
And then
information.
Jim will just, give them all the documentation as he gets it, and you and town council can go back and forth. It's usually the easiest way. I think we did that on the last one.
Okay.
We just had a direct contact between the two of you. So if you make a motion to request that we get approval for use of town council for the review of the documents for Cooper Farm septic system,
To have a review
And I'll send that out to Keith tomorrow morning.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor of approving the motion, giving Jim the ability to ask town council to review paperwork associated with this shared system at Cooper Farms? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, here we go.
Thank you,
So
Jim.
once I'll make sure I get it all as, as efficiently as possible so that hopefully we can get through it with one pass.
How many houses in there?
Which one did you pass?
So I believe there'll be
This is
20
Dogwood, it needs
single-family
to
house
have the
lots
silt
and I
fencing in
think
it.
15 or 16
And
over
it's
55
the-
units.
The
Shelley?
ones for tonight
So he was
are
So-
here.
he was
for
saying that
Dogwood, do
the
we have
house
to
There's
on
silt
address it?
fencing.
Is like a model for something, that they're all gonna be,
That's when we said it needed a silt fencing
I don't know.
after the
Okay.
fact.
I heard him say
Does that-
something about that at the last meeting.
Does that
He
need
liked
to
it,
be
that's what's going on over there,
redone?
so.
Which is interesting because this is
Can you add it by,
the deed
By
restriction
initial?
question becomes an interesting point with all of these.
What do they go for, 650,000?
I have no idea. I don't know if
Just
they.
beginning stages.
Are you okay on this dogwood that we just hand right in, that they have to add silt fencing until
Sure.
the area's stabilized?
So one of the things we try to do, I mean, unfortunately, somebody mentioned the 4 inches of rain in 2 hours. That's what kills these systems
Yep.
sometimes. So if somebody doesn't get growth established on a steep slope, I will often ask them to put, they make this jute matting, which actually
That's
kind
what you're choosing.
which you kind of pin down.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it keeps the soil from washing away till the grass will come through.
yes.
Which one is it?
This is 6 Long Lake that we just
Yes.
talked about this.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think the only changes we made to what we saw tonight was the silt fencing,
Right,
and Shelley's adding that right now.
okay.
Did you sign it?
And this is Hillside that we already did today, too.
Do we have to specify, it says contingent on the area being stabilized with silt fencing, do we need to specify the timing for that during construction or anything like
No,
that?
I
Is
mean,
that sufficient?
I don't know if this is a house for sale, but if somebody's selling a house and they don't get growth established, I usually make them put something like a jute matting on so I can feel comfortable that when the property changes.
Oh, yeah, I just want to make sure the wording, that's sufficient?
I mean, for what you approved, it is, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Additionally, if, like I say, even with that silt fencing, if that slope hasn't started getting grass on it, I'll make them do something if they want to try to get a certificate before it's grown.
Oh, I see, okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
Because that's my biggest fear, is that they sell it, get heavy rain, there's rivulets going down through the sides of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is there any way that we can, she seemed to be concerned about the aesthetics of it being left there? We can't tell them to take it out.
I guess
When they're done, remove it.
I assume a new homeowner would take it out, but I know her point, I mean, sometimes stuff gets left.
I have one across the
Only
street.
visible to her really because of that hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why they
So,
don't take it
so
out.
my personal perspective, stuff like that, I think we ought to stay out of, encourage neighbors to talk. If we're involved, it doesn't encourage neighbors to talk.
Yeah.
I mean, my guess is if it's there in 6 months, she's gonna call and complain about it, and then Jim will go out and look at it and tell the new people, take it out.
And they'll probably say, oh, we didn't realize it was there.
We didn't know we could.
Yeah, that's the other thing, sometimes people just don't know, yeah.
Septic
We thought it had to stay there.
Septic system, I have a septic system.
That was part of it.
Too bad.
All right, is there any other correspondence? Okay,
Make a motion to adjourn?
we have a motion adjourned.
I second.
All in favor of adjourning at 9 o'clock?
Jimmy, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Jim.
Like I said, there's a couple things that.
These are done? These are signed? Go.
So we have no problem with the 11 Taylor Street, right?
Well, we just want to get them in here so that you guys can